Do you have it? Um, do you have editing access? I don't even have my phone.
Testing.
Are you still on? Are you I don't have my phone, but Lenadia, can I see? Can you send that email? Can you send that link to Lenadia? Can you just reach out?
You want me so bad. And it's showing. It's showing. You do it. But yeah, those Yeah,
present. And if you're proxying for someone, please say proxy when I call the name of the person that you're proxying for. Abdul Alim. Proxy. Okay. Ahmed. Alim. Al-Shamari. Baker. Barker. Barrett. Biggs. Boaj. Kars. I am present. Chiganti. Cook. DeVay. Davis. We haven't sworn them in yet.
Oh, well, we just did. So
Did we swear in Desai and D? They're not
yeah,
first
yeah,
years. are
yeah.
they?
No,
Oh.
those are all
Oh, they
all
are?
swearing.
Oh, okay.
We have the appointees at the bottom again.
Desai. Deet. No. Okay. Dewberry. Dean. Dixon. Dunn. Etchebrew. Fields. Frink. Hardwick. Hernandez. Hines. Ibrahim. Kalanina. Khan. Kalu. Ledford. Lennon. Lewis. Lundergan. Megastab. Mobley. Nandula. Perez. Perry. Piani. Pittman. Price. Rao. Robertson. Robinson. Rolfe. Roman. Roth. Roy. Shonik. Seitz. Shahid. Taylor. Urchuk. Watts. Webb. Webster. Wetzbarger. Watley. Lance Williams. Rayshawn Williams. Yasa. Joe. Awesome.
Okay. So with 46 present, 14 absent, and 4 proxies, we do have quorum, so our business will be valid. Awesome. So we'll now move into the recitation of the student government mission statement. So if you can not repeat after me. If you can all say it with me. Founded and funded by students, the NC State University student government encourages students to express their concerns and ideas, promotes an environment of open discourse and academic excellence, and proactively represents the student voice through university administration and board of trustees through ethical and accountable public service. Thank you. All right, now we will move on to receipts and petitions corresponded in correspondence addressed to the Senate. So just to give everybody, so this is one will be a little bit different than normal. Normally, this is when we have like groups come and present about maybe something that's going on in the university or something like that. But today, the folks that are going to come and present for tuition and fees are for tuition and fees. So please keep this in mind. So they are not here until very, very late. We're if you have any questions regarding the piece of legislation that is coming up for later today, I will allow those questions to happen and that sort of thing. Again, so if you have questions regarding the piece of legislation, this is the time to ask them as the units. If there are anything that are like that's more of a logistical internal Senate sort of thing, then we can answer those during like debate and all that kind of jazz for those pieces of legislation, but get those questions, anything that you guys might have now, those are the things that are at the top of second reading. So with that, we will have the student centers and operations. So if you guys, whenever you're ready, each presentation, we are allowing up to 15 minutes and then 10 minutes for questions. So as with any of our other receipts of petitions that we have. So with that, if we can get a, what'd you say? Okay, right here.
Good evening, everybody.
So here, Lenati, could you get the mic? Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name's Tim Hogan. It's my pleasure to serve as the director of the Student Centers. I'm part of the Division of Campus Enterprises. We're here to present our request for student fee increase for the Student Centers operation. When we put together our presentation for our fee increase, we wanted it to tie directly to the goals set out by the UNC system and the strategic plan set forward by NC State. We've enumerated many of those here, and at the top of that list, and what most of our work in the student centers is grounded in, is student success. So we're here to help you all in your endeavors. So our request today is for $7 for our operating budget. Our current fee is $122.40. It was last increased 2 years ago. What we want to use this increase for is specifically related to our staffing in the student centers. Additional housekeeper in our building services department, and additional student staff and temp staff in our event services area, and we'd like to enhance our student development program. We have in the future a need for an additional staff person in our event services area. With our student employment program, we want to continue to fund what we have established as a $200 per semester bonus program that roughly would add $1 an hour to each student's wages for that semester if they persist to the end of the semester. And we want to, we have a strong employment program that includes promotion and opportunity for advancement. We want to continue that tiered wage structure with the potential of increasing our tier 1 wage, which I think we see some of that soon. Just a little background for how the student centers operates. As you can see, sorry, can I get another slide? Thank you. As you can see, our revenue is primarily from student fees. 86% of our revenue is student fee driven. We have a small portion, 11% of event revenues and 3% of non-operating revenues. On an annual basis, our expenses will match our revenues. You can see here that the largest portion of our expenses is in our labor, hence the request for staffing support, 67%. That includes our full-time permanent staff salaries and benefits, our temp staff salaries, and our student salaries. Part of our request includes this inflationary and mandatory investment. From last year to this year, our salary and benefits are projected to increase by over $109,000, and our operating expenses will increase by over $39,000. That's a total of $148,000. We realize with increasing enrollment that we will gain some more student fees when we have more students. We anticipate next year that will be about $61,000. So the delta there, about $90,000, equates into about $3 of a student fee request. Why we want to make these investments to our core activities. Sorry, I must be on the wrong page. I'm back with you now. Our enrollment growth since fiscal year 18 has been 12%. Of that, during that time period, there was a 20% increase in undergraduate enrollment. Many of you who have been in this building understand that we have high volume of students on a daily basis. A lot of those come from first year and second year students that live close by in the residence halls. In addition to enrollment growth, our event capacity has increased 7% in that time period, and our daily foot traffic in Tally and Witherspoon has increased over 10%. And to put that into context, that's about 20,000 visits per day. At the same time of that growth, our full-time staffing has been relatively stagnant. In fiscal year 18, we had a total of 34 team members that work for our department. And you can see that that growth is zero, and the growth enrollment events and foot traffic have increased at a much greater rate. Our goal is to get our team to 37 members total. The request for today is for one of those. With that growth, we also have to address our student staffing. In a similar manner, we had 95 to 100 students work for us for the last 7 years. We need to grow that to about 115 to 125 students. As I was talking about our student development program, I suggested that we have a very robust program for our students. This just shows how we attempt to provide further development and promotion for our students. I'll add one note at the bottom that our average student wage currently is about $11.25 an hour. With the bonus program, that bumps it up to a little over $12 if a student persists for the semester. But we want to work to improve that. Over the past year, as we produced our annual administrative assessment, one of the things we did was ask for feedback on our operations and the satisfaction from students. A couple of highlights is our event implementation in the last year received high marks, 4.7 out of 5. We got very high marks with our question regarding experienced a sense of community within the student centers, and also very high marks with cleanliness through the building. So we believe that we're doing our job well at this point and want to continue to do so. As many of you know, Tally has informally or formally become the heart of campus. I like to tell the story about the life of a student and Tally Student Union. And many of you may have experienced this, but we work with our colleagues in enrollment management to host open house every year. So high school students, it's coming up in a week or two, come for open house. And a lot of that is centered at Tally. Students come for admissions, information sessions and tours. Those start and end in Tally. In the spring each year, admissions invites admitted students to experience NC State. Over the summer, new student programs host new student orientation. And just before classes start, DASA hosts Wolfpack Welcome Week. So many students before their first day of class have been in Tally at least 5 times. In addition to that, once our students are here, they take advantage of what Tally has to offer. A lot of that has to do with student organization events. I've listed a couple here. The Chancellor's Office uses Tally for some of their signature events each year. These also coming up, Red and White Week, which features the Chancellor's Fall Address, is happening in a few weeks. And at the end of each semester, we host multiple college and department commencements. So what we're hoping for with this fee increase is that we can invest in and grow our full-time staff. We can enhance our student development program, and we can provide more jobs for students. What we'd be faced with without the fee increase, the challenge is that we would have to raise those fees in other manners, either increasing rates for student organizations and departments for their events, or throttling back overall event capacity. Right now, we host about 20,000 events per year, and a potential of reducing daily service hours at Tally and Witherspoon so that we could reduce some of those costs. My goal, and I've said this before, we'd rather not be faced with those challenges. So I'll pause here before our next request.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Hogan before regarding the Student Center's operations fee increase request? This is going to be SR 49, if I'm not mistaken, based off of my memory, and on the piece of legislation, on the legislation that is linked in second reading. So if anybody has any questions that would be relevant in terms of for Mr. Hogan, if there's any questions about like the usage of these fees, how is this going to be, all that kind of jazz. Anything regarding the presentation and that sort of thing, or the legislation that they can answer and that sort of thing. Senator Dean?
So you did say that with the fee increase that students like who work in the student center can get a $1 increase in their pay.
That's what we're working towards. Currently, if they, we have a bonus program that if students work a minimum of 200 hours for the semester, we can give them a $200 bonus, assuming they persist to the end of the semester. That equals about an additional $1 per hour. We want to keep that going, and we also want to look at our pay structure to see if we can move the bottom end of the pay structure up.
Awesome. Thank you for that question. Is there any other questions regarding student centers, like the operations portion part of it? Okay. If I see no others, then we will restart that 15-minute timer. And so you can continue on into the repair and renovations portion of this, because they're being treated as two separate requests within the university. We're just allowing for two different sections of time and that sort of thing. But yeah, whenever you're ready, you have the floor.
I'm ready. Good evening. I'm still Tim Hogan. I'm still happy to be here. Okay. Our repair and renovation fee is currently at $34.80. Our request is an additional $10. We have not had any increase in this fee in at least 13 years. It may be longer than that, but I've only worked here for 13 years. The rationale behind these fees is basically to maintain our facilities. Can I get another? Thank you. We have responsibility for Witherspoon Student Center as well as Tally Student Union. Witherspoon opened in 1991. It's 34 years old, almost as old as me. Tally opened in 2013. That's 11 years old. Our goals with our repair and renovation budget is to preserve the integrity of the investment that you all have already made. We ask you to pay student fees each year, operations fees to run the student centers, R&R fees to maintain the student centers, and there's also a debt service that students pay and have been paying since before the building opened. And it's our goal to make sure that we maintain the integrity of that investment that you all have made. If we're able to plan appropriately, we can reduce the high cost emergency spending. It's much easier to have a preventative maintenance program that's robust than have to pay for emergency repairs when something breaks. We also want to make sure that we can enhance the quality of the student experience by making upgrades and repairs. These updates and repairs generally come in two categories: improvements and enhancements, and large system replacements. So these examples I'll share with what we have just done recently to give you an idea of how we spend this money. So the significant updates that we've made recently in Witherspoon and Tally. The goal was to make these more appealing for students and student organizations and concentrate on multi-purpose space. In Witherspoon, in the past couple of years, we've replaced the first floor restrooms. We did a whole-scale renovation to the Washington Sankofa room on the first floor of Witherspoon. Also replaced a fire alarm and a couple of the air handlers in the building. And in the auditorium, many of you may have had a class in there. The auditorium in Witherspoon is the largest 110 classroom on campus, but we also share that so that we can do programming for student organizations nights and weekends when classes aren't in session. We've added a built-in stage there to make that performance area much more robust. In those examples, you can see that we've put some money into infrastructure, fire alarms, and air handlers. You don't really see that until there's a fire and the fire alarm works and we're all good. Or you see it when the air conditioning breaks and it's real hot in the spring. The other ones, the enhancements and upgrades that we see on a daily basis, hopefully. Similar things have happened in Tally in the last couple of years. The booths adjacent to Port City Java down on the main level, we added brand new seating there that increased our seating capacity. The bonus of adding electrical outlets next to a seat, something that most of our students are fond of. We also, a year ago, built a new study space. You might notice the space between One Earth and Port City Java. It used to be Wolf Express. Wolf Express is now embedded in the Wolfpack Outfitters down on the first floor of Wolfpack Outfitters. Other meeting room technology replacements and upgrades we've done, I call out specifically here. We've added a couple of additional screens. For those of you who weren't here, when these weren't here, we only had one screen. The addition of these and some of the infrastructure has been helpful to our student orgs and departments that use this room as well. And we also provided a ballroom renovation over this past summer. Okay. If we're approved with this fee, some of our anticipated investments over the next couple of years include, I've put these into those categories that I talked about. The improvements and enhancements, carpet replacement in meeting rooms and office carpet. We're currently working this year on replacing public area carpeting. Meeting room finishes and technology upgrades. So some of the technology in here is updated. Some of it, I think that projector might be 11 years old. And if anybody has 11-year-old technologies, anybody got a iPhone S5 or a Samsung 4? Our goal is to update technology for all of our meeting spaces throughout Tally. What we're working on currently, and part of this came up with this new lounge space in the old Wolf Express space, we're attempting to increase seating interior to the building and exterior to the building. those of you who've been around during the middle of the day, we run into on a regular basis, some of our students are sitting on the floor next to an outlet, but we run out of seats in the building by about 11 a.m. Our other large systems replacements that we're interested in providing is lighting changes in the building to from old fluorescent to LED. Our hope is that we can provide some sustainable lighting that will help reduce some of our costs or at least offset some of the increase in utilities. In Witherspoon, our goal is to provide improvements and enhancements there as well. Our hope to renovate the second and third floor restrooms to match what we did in the first floor. The first floor restroom, we enlarged the openings so they're more ADA accessible for motorized wheelchairs. We would continue that on the second and third floors. And we'd also like to add a single occupant restroom to that building, which there's not one currently. When I was talking about air handlers before, there's a total of 10 in Witherspoon, and we've replaced 2 of them. So we have 8 more to go. That building's over 30 years old. They're past their life expectancy. And then some of the challenges that we'd face if we're not approved for a fee, challenges of not investing in our facilities is how to replace end-of-life systems. We'll have failing infrastructure. We won't be able to provide needed improvements. We'll have higher costs for emergencies and or for replacements, which will lead to a reduced quality of the student experience and potential harm to the university reputation. When I talked at the beginning about the number of events that we use to recruit students and how they're all centered at Tally, we need to maintain our facilities so that we can be perceived as a premier location on campus.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you again for another long presentation. All right. Are there any questions regarding the Student Center's repair and operations fee in request? Anything that Tim has presented here today, or just in general for either of those types of things? Again, this is something that's important. Like, we want to, if you're wanting to ask the unit themselves, like, more about the increase request and that sort of thing, because again, you probably don't want to be here until 10, 11 once we get to that point of our a piece of our agenda. But with that, Senator Ledford, go for it.
In y'all's vision of using the requested new amount of fees, would that add to inaccessibility on campus with construction? Like, what is the timeline that y'all see for that, just so that we're not disrupting like another student space?
That's a great question. And historically, we've done our best to manage any improvement projects when the space is least occupied. So when I talked about the ballroom renovation, we did that this summer. We started the day after commencement and we ended the day before orientation. So contractor wasn't happy with us, but that was our window. So we attempt to find those windows to do those things. Carpeting project that we're working on right now, we gave the contractor, or in the bid specifications, we told them you have some time at Thanksgiving, some in December, some at spring break, and some in May. Figure out how you can do that there, because we can't shut down. we don't have we don't want the luxury to be able to shut down. We can't shut down. We won't. So we do attempt to work around. We're not here with you all.
Mhm.
We're working around you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that question. Are there, Senator DeBay?
Will the increase in funds, is that money going to be used for anything that has been decided on from the Tally Building Committee, or is that going to be separate?
That's part of the request. So when that report comes back, that's going to attempt to guide us how we can increase seating capacity in multiple ways. Right now, our current funding model will not fund that. So that's why we're asking for more. Thank you.
Awesome. Questions? Any other questions? Oh, sorry. Senator Williams.
Looking very long-term, 20 to 30 years from now, as we continue to enroll larger first-year populations, do you find that Tally is going to continue to be able to hold that capacity, or would there be the need of like changing Witherspoon into more of a Tally style building?
That's a great question. I would assume if our enrollment continues to grow, we have to do something, because we already see what's happening just over the last few years of enrollment growth and how crowded things are getting. So yes, I think there's multiple options on the table without being able to read the tea leaves 20 years from now. I would say if our campus grows to over 40,000 students, 43,000 students, we need more space for student union type activities as this. Yes.
Awesome. Are there any other questions? Any other questions from our guests? Anybody else have any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, I think we'll move into our next receipts and petitions. And thank you so much,
Thank you.
Mr. Hogan. Thank you. Okay. With that, we will move into our next presentation. For student health services, the fee increase request. So if Dr. Zapata and Dr. Osborne would like to come up, you guys have the floor for your 15 minutes. Do we have your presentation? Were you able to send that to me?
It's the same one that we did the other day.
Let me,
Do you want me to send it again?
oh, you got it? Yeah, could you send it to me again? That would be great. Apologies for the just give us a second to move that up. Get that. While we're waiting, if you guys want to introduce yourselves and kind of like start talking and that kind of thing, you're welcome to while we're getting your presentation up.
Great, fantastic. Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa Zapata, Senior Associate Vice Chancellor in the Division of Academic and Student Affairs. And this is Dr. Monica Osborne, Executive Director of the Counseling Center and Prevention Services in our division. So we're really happy to be with you tonight to talk with you a little bit about our proposed fee increase. So we are asking for a $25 increase in the student health services fee for 2025, 2026, and that will bring the fee to $470. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, because we have two reasons for our fee request. One is increased personnel costs, and the other is we want to continue to expand access to services to support student mental health. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the personnel cost, and then Dr. Osborne will talk about our strategies that we want to continue. Before we do that, though, can we go back one slide? Yeah. Before we do that, before I talk about the increased personnel cost, I want to make sure everyone understands what the student health fee supports. So it supports 3 different units. So 66% of the fee supports campus health, 29% goes to the counseling center, and 2% goes to prevention services. The remaining 3% covers the facility that houses those 3 units. And I think it's also important to know that while the student health fee, that makes up the majority of the funding for these 3 units, but we also have 12% of operating costs that come from other sources, such as state appropriations and the campus security fee. So again, the first reason for the request is increased personnel costs. So the last time we had a fee increase was 2021, 2022. And since then, oh yeah, can you go one more? Sorry. Yeah, thanks. And since then, our personnel costs have increased by $1.7 million. On top of that, we expect an additional increase of $1.8 million by 2025, 2026 in personnel costs. So why do we have increased personnel costs? There's really 2 reasons. First, legislative mandated salary increases. So we are required to increase salaries, which we're not complaining about. But along with that comes increased benefits. So for those units that are state supported, when there's a mandate for a salary increase, they're given the money to increase salaries and benefits. For those units that are fee supported, there's no additional money. So it's really an unfunded mandate that we have to find funding for. So that's a large part of the increase. The other part of the increased personnel cost is because we have been making salary adjustments in order to hire and retain staff. So when you think about the kind of employees that are funded by these positions, doctors, nurses, psychiatrists, counselors, those folks can go in the private sector and make a whole lot more money than they do here, and even sometimes go to other universities and make more money. So we have been increasing salaries in order to hire and keep our employees and our staff to support student needs. And then finally, the last point I want to make about the personnel cost is we are covering 87% of those increases that I talked about, the 1.7 plus the 1.8. We're covering that internally through enrollment increases, through operational efficiencies, through other revenues. So we are only coming and requesting the 25 part of this money to cover 13% of that cost. So with that, that gives you a big picture idea covering the 3 different units. And now we're specifically going to talk about improvements in the counseling center to support student mental health.
You can go ahead and advance one more as well. Hi, y'all. Thanks for having us tonight. Mental health, as you all know, has been a nationwide challenge, and we haven't been exempt here at NC State. Some of these initiatives that I'm going to discuss really come out of the crisis year that we had and multiple losses of students back in 22-23. We heard from students. We know this was true. There were long wait times. Access was challenging. There were some really high critical cases that we needed to attend to. Students rallied, the university rallied. We created the Student Mental Health Task Force. From that initiative, and also in partnering with student government, getting feedback from students, you all spoke to what you wanted to see the counseling center do. So that Student Mental Health Task Force created multiple recommendations, and we were able to put some of those in place to see what might work. Parallel to that process, the UNC system also funded some other initiatives as well related to mental health across all of the UNC system institutions. What I'm coming to you today for in our request are are things that we've already piloted, that we are already doing. We just need a sustainability plan for. We're not asking for funding for all of the things that we've put in place because we've went through what the utilization was for many of those, what the efficacy and the outcomes were for student with them, and we picked the ones that really made the most impact so we can be intentional in our ask around mental health with you. And I'm going to kind of go through some of those now. So the first is our telehealth platforms. For those of you who might not be familiar with that, we use a company called Mantra to assist us with access virtually using telehealth. And this is having the ability for clinical mental health individual counseling appointments in a virtual capacity. We've had many students give us really positive feedback, not only with telehealth in general, but with this platform specifically. We've had this in place since December of 2022. And having this helps students be able to have flexibility if they're doing internships, extensions, not right on main campus, just breaking down those barriers, increasing access so students can connect to mental health support. So that is one of the asks. The other piece of that from feedback from students was we want more nights and weekends to be able to have clinical appointments. This also addresses that need as well. The next one, I think, is our off-campus grant referral program. So what we do at the Counseling Center is not long-term clinical work. Sometimes students want more services than we can be good stewards of financial resources to be able to provide. What we do in those cases is we partner with off-campus resources to help students get connected. We also know that that can be a barrier for students. While we've done amazingly well with Student Blue with 0 copays for mental health, which is great, not everybody has Student Blue. So if folks are on their parents' insurance, those copays and co-insurance can be very high. We don't want that to be a barrier to help seeking. So this program, which was started by the UNC system through GEAR funding or COVID money, there's no more of that money left, but this program was very, very helpful for students. We had great feedback, and it really helped us connect with our community partners as well. So being able to have some funding available to help defer cost of hospital bills, copays, co-insurance, that type of thing. And then the third one request is for a peer-to-peer support platform, and that is Togetherall. This is peer support. So if you think about Reddit with guardrails, or maybe like a healthy version of Reddit, this is 100% staffed by licensed clinical mental health professionals that monitor this type of chat. If there is any kind of concern, crisis, suicidality, there's a reach out and support in place. But we have learned a long time ago that most of you don't want to talk to old people. You want to run that question by some of your peers first. And quite honestly, your peers usually give really good feedback and support, and it helps that sense of belonging and to build that community. One of the things related to the use of Togetherall, while that's the newest initiative that we've put out, the reason that we really want to stick with that one is because it is reaching our BIPOC students at higher rates than we've been able to in any other capacity. So we really want to continue to lean into those services as well. And I think that might be, the overall impact. Using all of these resources, we've been able to increase services in the Counseling Center by 15%. These are the ones that we've already vetted. We know students are using. We've got good feedback on. So that's why we picked these to want to be able to continue. Without this increase, we can't continue these services. This is what the students said that they wanted from the counseling center. We want to be able to deliver. We've tried to do everything with all of the other funding models that we have. Although we are not asking for any money related to our embedded programs, your colleges, the provost office, they have shown up and funded all of the embedded clinicians. That commitment to student mental health has been important in not asking for having us to come and ask for additional funds. So other things are being funded in different ways. These are the three initiatives that we felt like were the priorities to bring to all of you.
All right, with that, thank you so much for coming and presenting. Are there any questions for, okay, question from Senator Baker?
Thank you all so much for the work that you're doing. It is impactful to our campus and it matters, and we really appreciate it. I just want to clarify something you said, Dr. Zapata. The 13%, so of the $25 fee increase, $3.25 of that $25 is covering personnel?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, sorry.
I just didn't fully understand.
Yeah, I apologize. So when I was talking about the 87 and the 13, that is how much we are covering internally of the personnel costs. So if you look at the $25, $14.08 is going to the personnel costs, and then the other is going to the strategies. Yeah. So
Thank you.
almost 11. Yeah. So 14 and 11. Thanks for that clarification.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that question. Are there any other questions for Student Health Services about their fee increase request? This would be specifically related to SR 52. So if senators want to look at the agenda and make sure they have it from there, if there's any questions regarding that sort of thing, that piece of legislation. If you have any other questions for the unit, again. I know that there were some questions that were in tuition fees that we can also discuss and talk about as well. But seeing none, after kind of stalling for time for an awkward amount of time, we will move in. Thank you so much. And we'll move into the Department of Computer Science. They're making a premium tuition increase request, which is something previously the Senate hasn't been able to make a recommendation on before, but we thought that this was going to be something to maybe set a good precedent and have a student discussion about it, about things that are going on in the university regarding tuition and fees. So with that, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is George Ruskas. I'm a professor in computer science. I was actually the director of graduate programs for 11 years until I stepped down at the end of June. So although I don't have an official role with the graduate program of computer science right now, I'm co-author of this proposal, and I certainly very aware of all the numbers that I'm going to show you. So as you heard, this is a request for an increase of the premium tuition, and the department has been charging premium tuition for students in the master's program only. So unlike the previous request that you heard about, this is not does not apply to all the students. It only applies to master students in computer science. So what I'm going to do is provide some information about the department, our students, and then try to justify why we need this increase. So our department is one of the largest in the university, and in fact, we are the largest in terms of the graduate program. We have more than 1,000 graduate students. We have more than 1,700 undergraduate students, so a total of close to 2,800. Our students are very successful. They they find careers in most of the leading IT companies, not only within North Carolina, but across the US. Many of the companies who decide to locate or relocate in the RTP area come here, or in fact, inside the Centennial campus, they come here because they want access to our students. So next slide, please. So this graph gives you the increase in our student population over the last 20 years. And so you can see that up until 2019, which is just before COVID, we had a 59% increase over 15 years. And then since 2019, we had a 44% increase over the last 5 years. Okay, so growth has actually accelerated. Next slide, please. So our graduate program is very strong. Actually, receives it's actually one of the most successful programs at NC State in terms of research funding. Our students are responsible for much of the research that comes to the department. And as I said, our students are very successful. For our graduate students, depending on their program, master's or PhD, and whether they at the state where they find a career, their starting salaries are between 90 to 180K. The mean was around $110,000 this last year, and that's $27,000 more than the average for our bachelor's degree recipients. Okay, and they also enjoy a very high placement rate at time of graduation. So in the next slides, I'm going to show you, just for graduate enrollment. So again, you see the large enrollments and increase in enrollments. And if you are wondering about that dip in 2020, it's because our program is highly international. And of course, in 2020, no international students could travel to join us. And so we had a steep drop in the master students in particular, but that didn't last long, as you can see there. The next slide shows, specifically what has happened to our master students enrollment. So we had a 100% increase over the 15 years from 2004 to 2019, and an additional 44% increase since then. And the next slide shows, when we introduced our premium tuition initially and what happened to enrollments. So the premium tuition was introduced in 2014. Over 3 years, it was phased over 3 years at $800 increments per full-time students per semester. And so it reached $2,400 in 2016. Then we had an additional increase in 2017, and our premium tuition has been at $2,800 per semester per full-time student since that time. And what that allowed us to do, if you go to the next slide, please, it allowed us to basically provide a lot of improvements to our graduate program. So we increased the number of teaching assistants, we increased the stipends for teaching assistants, we increased the number of graders. It allowed us to hire more graduate office staff to handle all the applications and all the students that we were receiving. We were able to, spend additional money for equipment, software, and also marketing and recruiting activities. But if you look what has happened since then, the next slides, the last increase was in 2017, and since then our program has grown by 50%. Okay, so that's since the last increase. And so the result has been that, our teaching assistant numbers are no longer adequate. Our class sizes have increased substantially. So most of the basic graduate level courses and even some of the undergraduate courses have enrollments of 100, 120, 150. We have classes that are 300 students enrollments every semester. Our graduate office staff increased, but now we need more. And of course, we need, additional funds for equipment, software, recruitment, and so on. And if you just press the next, again. So what we did is, before we put together this proposal, we consulted with the CSC GSA, and they listed each and every of these items that are on this slide, except for the very last one, which is marketing and recruiting, but they listed as challenges for our master's program. So they agree, the students agree with us that we need to make sure that we provide quality education by taking care of all these challenges that we have here. So our request in the next slide is to increase the premium tuition by $700 per semester per full-time student. So it will go from $2,800 to $3,500. This tuition increase will be prorated for distance education students or for part-time students. And so what we plan to do then is address all these issues that I mentioned in my previous slide. So increase the, increase our teaching assistant stipends, increase the number of teaching assistants so that we can offer classes with smaller sizes and so on. So if you can just move to the next slide. Yeah, so basically this is the same list that I showed you before. So let me discuss a little bit about the impacts in terms of our, the impact on the students. So next slide, please. So if you, as I said before, our program is mostly international, but 24% of our students are North Carolina residents. And so for our proposal increases the amount of premium tuition they have to pay over the course of their studies by about $2,100. Okay. Now, if, as I said before, the difference between the average salary of a master's graduate versus a bachelor's graduate is about $27,000. So that means it would take someone with a master's degree about 1 month to recover this $2,100 increase in their tuition. And this calculation does not take into account other benefits of having a master's degree, which includes higher placement rates, the better quality of career paths, and so on and so forth. Now, as if this increase is approved, if you go to the next slide, please. Okay, so that's going to result in a 25 increase in premium tuition receipts for our departments, which is about $800,000. If you look at what has happened since the last increase, the official cumulative inflation is about 28%. So by next year, when the increase is going to take effect, it's going to be 30% or perhaps a little bit more. Now, you all know that the challenges of student life in Raleigh with the increase in housing costs and inflation over the last couple of years. So we tried to address some of those. So we have increased the TA stipends by 32% over the last few years. But even so, there are websites that compare our stipends to the stipends of our peers, and we are actually at the bottom of that list. So we are not very competitive. So we need to do a better job in terms of paying our graduate students. And so our graduate office staff has increased, but we need to increase it further. Every other cost has also that's associated with the program has increased. So next slide, please. So, what this is the first line in the first row of the table shows you the total tuition per semester for a student. So for a resident is $9,700. It will go to $10,400, and then for a non-resident, it's about $2,000. We'll get to $20,700. Okay. How do we compare against our peers? That's the next slide. So from the, on the left is the tuition comparison against our peer institutions for residents, and then on the right it's for non-residents. So for residents, we will, go up a couple of places. We will still be in the second quartile. On the right-hand side, we will go up by 1 place. But one thing that to keep in mind is that, with the exception of UT Austin, which somehow has a very, very low tuition rate, our resident tuition rate is much lower than the out-of-state tuition rate for other institutions. So we do not anticipate that we're going to lose North Carolina residents because it will be much more expensive for them to apply to an institution out of state. And so, next slide, please. So a couple of other, next slide, please. Yeah, so, and a few more words in terms of affordability. As I said, the placement rate of graduates is very high. There is demand for, IT-related occupations, about 370,000+ jobs per year over the next 10 years. The time to recover this additional cost is very low, about a month for someone who's graduates from our program. And in addition to that, most of our master students do get internships during the summer, so that helps them with the tuition overall. So, so I guess second to last slide is right. So. Will it affect our enrollments? We think not, because this is the history of what happened the last time that we increased tuition. So you see that tuition went up, from 0 to 2,800, but the enrollments did not. And in fact, our program is very selective. So even if we have a slight drop in the application, we would still be able to have quality students come to NC State. Okay, next slides. And if comparing to other premium tuition programs at NC State, that increase will still leave us in the middle of that table. And we believe that the programs that are ahead of us in terms of tuition actually have better demands, and our students get higher salaries. So comparing to other premium tuition programs at NC State, I think we are doing fine. So finally then, so this is what's going to happen if the request is not approved. And basically, every one of the items that I discussed before is just going to become worse. We are not going to be competitive in terms of our TA stipends going forward. So we're not going to be able to hire as many TAs. We're not going to be able to, continue our marketing, recruiting efforts, and so on and so forth. And so overall, it will just make it much harder for the department to offer the kind of quality program that our master students are already used to. So I'll stop here. I'll be happy to take questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So thank you for coming and presenting. Okay. With that, are there any questions? Senator Baker.
Thank you so much for coming. A couple of questions. Number one, was none of the $50 million engineering expansion money, which is what your enrollment increase partially came from, allocated to help alleviate some of these concerns?
None. So the only funds that we have for supporting our graduate program, at least as far as the cost that I listed here goes, comes solely from premium tuition. We do not get any other support. So so the additional engineering enhancement or expansion funding has gone, for instance, to hire faculty. So we've increased by about 50% in faculty size over the last 2 or 3 years, but none of it has gone to directly to the graduate program.
Could you not make the argument that you're over-enrolling the program for the ability to meet the needs of the current students instead of going for a tuition increase?
The way that I've been thinking about this is that there is very high demand for our program. So we receive about 2,200 applications to our graduate program every fall semester. That's probably 1 out of 5 or 6 applications to the whole university that goes to the program. I think, my view is that we would be remiss if we were not admitting the students that we're admitting. And as I said, we are very selective. So we could very easily increase the program even further. We've tried not to do that. But I think we have a very large and quality application pool. And to me, I mean, it would be injustice not to admit some of these very qualified students to our program.
You noted in your presentation that this will have very little impact on North Carolina students, but you also noted simultaneously that the vast preponderance of the students in your program are international students, and you didn't note the impact to international students. Can you speak to what the impact will be to international students directly, please?
To the international students, so it's going to be exactly the same in the sense that they get the same $700 increase as our North Carolina residents. So that it does not change. Now, in terms of international students, the percentage increase is much smaller than for North Carolina residents because, as I showed before, the tuition is $20,000 currently, and will go up by $700, whereas for the North Carolina residents, it's almost half of that. So percentage-wise, or relatively speaking, the impact will be smaller. Having said that, the main thing that is important is what is going to happen if we do not get that increase. And if we do not get that increase, that means our stipends will not be competitive. Students, international students, will not come to NC State. They will try to go to other places that offer much more competitive stipends, even as we speak. And so, what that is going to happen is that it will actually force our hands to reduce the size of the program. And if that happens, then engineering expansion is not going to continue, because from the numbers that I showed you, the vast majority of that engineering expansion actually comes because of computer science.
Thank you so much. All right, a query from Senator Dean.
I have like a 2-part question. The first question, how many graduate students are there? And specifically, like, I guess in your, the computer science department.
It was noted for the master's students, there's about 750 and about 1,000 total for grad students for the computer science department.
Okay. I guess then my next question is, I guess, why are you proposing such like a high, like $700 fee comparatively to like the other fee increases that like are approximately like $20 to like $50? What is your purpose for such a large weight on one individual?
Also, just as a note, the other fee increases are ones that are applied to all students, not just this is a department specific sort of thing. Does that answer your question? Okay, but yeah. I'll have them.
Yes, absolutely. So, as I said, the purpose of this increase is completely different than that of a fee increase. Okay, and the reason that is actually much larger is exactly because any fee increases that are applied that you heard about before apply to 36,000 students. This only applies to 750 students, and that's one thing. The second thing is that premium tuition is, so most of you may not be familiar with premium tuition because the number of premium tuition programs are relatively small, in the university. But premium tuition programs like business, for instance, or financial math, or electrical engineering, biomedical engineering, and so on. The reason that they have to to rely on these additional funds beyond the regular tuition is exactly because our costs are much higher. So, for instance, a salary, in computer science, or for a teaching assistant, because all the funds that we get, by the way, go back into the program. So none of it can be used for let's say, for raises for faculty. Everything that we will get, this $800,000 will be given back to the program, to cover the costs or increase the stipends and so on. So, that is the reason. So, when you have, 1,000 graduate students, and we offer maybe 50 or 60 sections of classes every semester, someone has to pay the teaching assistants to cover those classes.
Awesome. Devay or yep.
So I didn't see a revenue breakdown like the other fee increases. So I'd like to know, what are the other avenues that you are getting fees from that are supporting the CSC grads program? And then have you guys looked into trying to get more money from there as well?
Right. As I said, we do not get any other funding for the graduate program. So we do not really have any avenues for increasing our funding from other sources.
Is that something you guys are trying to actively do, or is there something that's limiting you from doing that?
No, the problem is that, the department, this is not just true for computer science, I think is for most departments at NC State, we are chronically underfunded. And so, the main reason that we established and many other programs like the ones I listed include the premium tuitions because they cannot get the additional funding that they need from other sources.
Okay. And then just to clarify, are you guys trying to look for other sources for funding or no?
It's not about look. So the question is where should we be looking, right? Because there are no, to my knowledge, there are no other sources. I mean, we could potentially, go to private sources, but that is not something that is guaranteed or stable, or we can rely upon year after year.
Okay, that's understandable. Mm-hmm. And then the last thing was, you said you talked to the CSC GSA, so that's the Graduate Student Assembly. And
yes.
Okay, and so did they approve to this? Like, did they support this $700 fee increase?
Yes, and that is in our proposal. As I said, they listed each and every one of the items that I had on my slides as a challenge that we need to address.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I have a question from Carter, and then we'll do Shahid after that.
So you mentioned a lot about how TA stipends are not adequate right now. And so I guess I'm just curious, what is the TA stipend? And in comparison to other peer institutions, how is that making us not competitive with the rate that we're currently at? And what would they be after this fee increase?
Okay, yes, that's a very good question. So our TA stipend right now is $2,900 per month, and that's after we increased it by $300 since last fall of 2023. Now, if you go to csstipendtrackings.org, you will find that when you take into account the cost of living and the amount of fees that our students have to pay compared to our peer institutions, we are probably at the bottom 10% of the 50 schools that are listed here in terms of competitiveness. So it shows that we have a large deficits as a department, or rather, our TA salaries do not cover more than about 6% of the cost of living for a year. Okay, take into account fees and housing costs and so on.
All right, thank you so much for that quick that answer. We have a motion from Pro Tempore Dewberry.
I move to extend the period of questions by 5 minutes.
Okay, motion has been heard. Is there a second? Second from Daniel. Who are you proxying for? From Proxy Aleem. All those in favor of extending the period of questions by 5 minutes, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay. All right, ayes have it. And the period will be extended by 5 minutes. All right. So with that, if there's anybody else that has questions that wants to enter the question queue, Senator Shahid.
Hello. I have just a follow-up question of the Carter. I have the same question. So if you just clarify that what percentage of the stipend will be increased for the graduate student. And after that, I have another questions. So the living expense are increasing in the Raleigh, and also if you increase the tuition fee for the tuition fee, and as you know that most of the students for the computer science department are the international students, do you think that it will be a less attractive for the choose to enroll in NC State to maybe they will think about to go to the better places or the where the expenses will be more or less.
Yeah, okay, that's a good question. Could you repeat the first one?
So what will be the percentage of stipend that will increase for the graduate TA assistants?
Right. So first of all, I cannot answer that question directly because I'm not longer the director of graduate programs. So that decision will be made by my successor. But what we've done in the past is we've increased the stipends incrementally. So we will not go ahead and increase it, let's say, by 25%. And the reason I'm saying that is the premium tuition receipts depends on enrollments. And so we want to make sure that enrollments will remain stable. Having said that, I think that, as I said, we had a 10% increase or maybe 11% increase in stipends last year. And I think at a minimum, an 8 to 10% additional increase immediately is probably warranted because, as I said, we don't feel that our stipends are competitive. Regarding the your second question, whether that will make us uncompetitive. So, as I said, as I showed you in one of the slides, even though over a period of 4 years our premium tuition went from $0 to $2,800, our enrollments actually increased slightly over that period. There was no decrease. So, based on that history, I expect that we will have very little impact in enrollments or applications for that matter.
But I think at that time, the living expense is not too much if you compare to the recent times.
Yeah, and that is correct, but at the same time, the living expenses, go out across the U.S., not just in Raleigh. But even so, I understand your question, and we have actually thought very hard about this. And as I said, even if we get a hit of 20 or even 25% in our applications, because our program is already so selective, we could increase the admissions rates and to stabilize our enrollments.
I have just another last question. So if you increase the tuition fee, so the TA to student ratio, will it be decreased or it will be the same?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So when we established the premium tuition 8 years ago, actually 10 years ago, our TA so we hired about one TA for 55 or 60 students. Right now, it is one TA for 50 students on average, of course. And what we hope to do with this increase is to decrease it further to 1 every 45 or even 1 over 40, depending on revenues.
Thank you. Is that all your questions, Senator Shade? Okay, awesome. So with that, we'll move with our last minute. Baker, if you have a question. Okay, all right. Then Robertson.
Hi, thank you for coming. At what point does the quality override the quantity of people that you are having come in? So what I'm asking, I guess, is like a previous senator said, maybe the over-enrollment of the computer science department may be the issue and not so much. As a graduate student and a TA myself, if you charge me more fees, but you're going to pay me more, it doesn't help me at all. So I even out and it equals out.
As I said, the increases the TA stipend is one of the items that we will be addressing, right? So there's other costs that are associated with the graduate program that we definitely need. So I'll give you. We only have 2 seconds, but I can give you a very specific example, which is that we received about 2,200 applications every year. There's about 110 graduate programs at NC State, okay? And these 110 programs overall receive about 13,000 applications. So 1 of 6 comes to computer science. We have 2 admission staff members. The other 110 programs may not have a full-time person. Many have, but not all of them may have a full-time person. But if you count the number of admissions officers, is actually probably 50 or 60. So they have 20 or 30 times as many admission staff as we do. Okay, but they are only processing 5 times the number of applications that we. So we desperately need more staff, and the same is true for our, the staff that take care of the routine day-to-day operations of the program. So if we do not get that, then what is going to happen is we will have to reduce our graduate program size, and I don't think that's a good idea for multiple reasons.
Thank you.
Can I follow up?
Can we get a quick handle a motion just
Yes.
because we're out of time? All right, I have a motion from Senator Baker. 10 minutes? Okay, by 10 minutes, the motion is. There's two left. 5. Okay, motion to extend by 5 minutes has been seconded by Senator Webster. All in favor of extending by 5 minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. I'm going to say ayes have it. All right, unless somebody's going to call division on me, please. The period of questions will be extended by 5 minutes, and then after that point, Senator Roberson, you may continue your question. So 5 minutes starting now. Follow up.
I guess the point that I want to make is, or ask you, is about the quality of the program. We know that the quality is great, but if you continue to increase the number, the quality is going to dip. So instead of trying to have more students, why not just level off, keep what you have, and keep your quality high?
Yeah, and that's actually. I'm sorry if you think I said otherwise, but our goal is not to increase the program. The reason we are actually asking for this is because our program has increased 50% since the last time of that. We increased the tuition. So our program is to keep it at around the 750 master students that we have currently. What I've been trying to say is that if we do not get this approved, then we cannot sustain 750 students, and we will have to reduce that. And so that will have negative implications also for engineering expansion.
Thank you.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much. Now we will have Williams. So Senator Williams. Have the floor.
Yes. So this whole time you've really been justifying this fee increase and that they will go off, get high paying jobs and be able to pay it back very quickly. Yes. And I realize that's very easy to say when the industry rates are so high. You have over a $200,000 salary. It's easy to say that. But have you considered from the position of a low income student, looking at that, not knowing if they will get that job? Will this affect on the individual student level the amount of low income students applying to this program?
That's actually a great question. And I should say that when we established the premium tuition, we actually set aside 15% for financial aid for students, to students who, could not afford the cost of the program. Unfortunately, we were told that because of current policy, we cannot use aside any funds from the current increase towards financial aid. So the least that we are going to do is continue offering that financial aid to those who need it. Unfortunately, and that's not our decision, it's because of the rules that are in place currently.
Thank you. All right. Now, was your question answered? Was your question answered? Okay. All right. Pro Tempore Dewberry, you have the next question.
Good evening. Thank you again for coming and presenting before us. I know earlier you said that the Graduate Student Association approved the tuition increase, but was it that they directly said, yes, they want the increase, or yes, they're okay with the increase, or did they ask to fix the issues that then led to the increase?
So the discussion that we had was specifically about the $700 increase. And the indication from the GSA was that they support it because it will address the issues that they think as challenges.
Thank you. All right. With that, we have Proxy Aline. You have a question?
So, given the history of fee increases, is your plan after this increase to continue increasing for these students? Kind of bouncing off of Senator Williams, do you plan to increase this as the need arises, or do you foresee just increasing willy-nilly as it goes on?
No, as I said, we do not plan at this point for any other increase in the near future. If this is approved starting the 2025-26 academic year, that would be 8 years since the last increase. Based on the information that I have right now, we do not expect to request another increase for at least 5 or 6 years.
Thank you. All right. Are there any other questions regarding the premium tuition increase request? Seeing none, we will thank you so much again, Professor Riskus. So somebody else that I had invited to our Senate meeting, which I forgot to get on the agenda, is Executive Vice Chancellor Charlie Mamoni. So he is part of the finance and administration of the university. So Charlie, was there any sort of corrections or any additional information you'd like to provide the Senate about any things that were said or anything like that might, and then also if anybody has any questions about the function of tuition, of the function of fees and that sort of thing. I wanted him to be here as a resource, as the student body officers and I are still a lot newer to this request and increase and that sort of thing and how this all works. But yeah.
Well, thank you very much. And it's a pleasure to be with you. I am the Executive Vice Chancellor for Finance and Administration at NC State University, and very glad to be with you this evening. I don't think there was anything that was said that's really outside of the policy that drives premium tuition, or this is really referred to as differential based tuition. And by policy, individual graduate and professional programs have the right to actually exercise a premium tuition request through the system. This is different than undergraduate tuition, and I know that a number of folks have mentioned fees. This is different than fees. This is actually a tuition, which means that it is only useful for actual addressing the academic programs, the administration of those programs, very specifically for the department that's requesting it, right? So this is different than, trying to establish a fee or even a tuition increase for all students across the campus. But professional and master's programs have this right. And the reason that this is different is that general statute for undergraduate tuition calls for it to be as affordable as practicable. And that, I think, is understandable. But at the graduate level, there's really two issues that the graduate and professional programs are striving for. And that is for access, which I think some of the things like graduate TAs and RAs and using some of those funds to support those stipends is important, and it's an important part of their proposal. But the other part of it is really pursuing excellence at the professional and graduate level. So their job really is to create a tuition model that helps them to actually provide the kinds of services and the kind of education that actually allows the students to graduate and to receive the kind of jobs and be competitive in the marketplace. So it's a slightly different perspective than just undergraduate tuition. And I'll leave it at that.
I think that kind of clarified, hopefully that clarified things for everybody on just like the use of different tuition versus fees and that kind of thing. Are there any questions that folks might have for Mr. Mamoni before we move on to the rest of our agenda tonight? Senator Williams?
Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your help in this whole process with tuition and fees. And I just wanted to kind of know, with the university on such a growth mindset, how do you balance wanting NC State to say high in the rankings, having quality, wide-ranging programs, but also thinking at the same time the individual student and making sure affordability for them?
Right. It's actually a little more complex than just tuition and fees. And, there's a lot of initiatives underway that really try to change that formula that allows especially students in need to actually be successful here. So one of the things that has changed quite dramatically over the last 5 years really is the endowment that the university has. So we have a lot of generous people that provide, funds to the institution. The vast majority of those funds, more than 90% of our endowment, which is over $2 billion right now, generates revenue every year for scholarships and professorships. So it really does its best to try to attract students of high quality and of need to the institution to try to adapt, I think, some of the other challenges with tuition or state appropriations that really drive the academic program support. Okay.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much. Are there any other questions in this regard? Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you again,
Mr. Mamoni.
All
Thank
right.
you so much.
Bye. Good to see you.
All right. All right. So now that we are out of the receipts and petitions, with that, we will move on to the approval of the journal of the previous meeting at 9:10 p.m. All right. Secretary Carter, did you receive any corrections?
I received just a couple of amendments clarifying some point of confusing debate that we had during the last meeting. You can find those in yellow on the linked meeting minutes from the last meeting. But other than that, everything was great, and I move to approve.
Okay, so there's been a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Pro Tempore Dewberry. All in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay. And the minutes are so approved. Awesome. Now we will move into the period of open floor comments from the student body, where any student who is not a current or former member of student government may address the Senate. We'll have if there are any students, please come state your name, pronouns, and what college you're from, and then afterwards we'll want to make sure that you get your name down correctly for the minutes. If you can, just check in with our secretary afterwards. So let's get a timer up for 15 minutes, and then we will continue to move on, or continue with this section. Just give us a second. Just hold on for a second while we're getting our logistics up. Okay. Apologies. Just trying to make sure that we can get times and that kind of thing down. Okay. Perfect. All right. So if there are any such students that would like to come up, please raise your hand. All right. I guess you with the computer, if that's okay. And then we'll do the person right next to you and then the person in the back. Okay. So you have the floor.
My name is Hajid Mahmoud. I am a member of the Arab Student Organization who signed on to R29, and I'm here with other organizations upset by the student government's lack of regard for the student body and Palestinians. Just since October of 2023, the US government has sent over $7 billion to the Zionist project. These are funds that could have been used on food, healthcare, or education. Make no mistake that the genocide of Palestinians is only possible because of the involvement of the United States. The lives, the deaths, and the blood of every single Palestinian is on all of our hands. especially on those who remain silent and especially on those of us who stand in the way of progress. We must stand together and demand that our country's government and our university divest from the military-industrial complex and genocide. There should be no monetary incentive for war, no number great enough to erase our morality. We must demand an immediate ceasefire, transparency, divestment, and an end to all partnerships with genocidal companies. And we must do this together as the student body. Palestinian students and their comrades have come meeting after meeting to encourage the student government to join this fight. The student body's fight. We have shown you exactly how you join the fight and exactly why you should join the fight, yet we continue to be disregarded as something unimportant. Student government has failed to do their one job, to advocate for and represent the student body.
All right, next person. Good.
Hello, my name is Annabelle Rossi, and I am a member of Students for Immigrant Rights and Equality, as well as a member of the Row chapter of Latinas Pomerano Comunidad Lambda Pi Chi Sorority Incorporated.
Oh, wait,
Yes.
you're a current or former member of student government,
Yes, I am.
so your comments will have to be wait till another time.
Just because I'm former, I haven't been
Yes.
for over a year.
Yep, it's our rules state current or former member of student government. I apologize.
You're fine, Carolyn.
I apologize. Thank you. Thank you. Apologies. I will allow you to have your full 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Sorry.
You're good. Am I good to start?
Yep, whenever you're ready.
Great. My name is Chris, and I'm a member of Latinas por una Comunidad Lambda Pi Chi Sorority Incorporated, an organization that signed on to R29, and I'm here with the other organizations disrespected by the Allison Markets veto and the failure of student government to overturn it. Palestinian liberation is not a fringe issue, as Allison Market tried claiming with her veto. Palestinian liberation is a cause that the student body is directly affected by and has united for, and this is an irrefutable fact that our student organizing has already demonstrated. Numerous organizations across campus stand in solidarity with Palestine, and you should know from the many organization signatures on R29. This list includes, but is not exclusive to, the Arab Student Organization, Muslim Student Association, Students for Justice in Palestine, Young Democratic Socialists of America, Dissenters, NC State University Grad Student Union, Students for Immigrant Rights and Equality, Pre-Law Education and Diversity, African Student Union, Pakistani Student Association, Mi Familia, Mexican Student Association, Asian Student Association, Students for Decarbonization at NC State, and the Row chapter of Latinas por una Comunidad Lambda Pi Chi Sorority Incorporated. In addition to these organizations, the petition had received more than an additional 900 signatures of students in 1 week. Even still, student government disregards the movement. In addition to these, the treatment of Palestinian students is just one of many examples of the student government not respecting the will of the students. This student government has consistently failed the student body, not just regarding Palestine, but regarding every single issue the students actually give a fuck about. There has still not been a single action from this body demanding justice for the victims of Poe Hall or speaking against the PCBs and DHL Library, Dabney Hall, 111 Lamp, Scott Hall, Harris Hall, Mann Hall, and the other dorms and Greek houses. There has not been a single action from this body demanding that the grad union receive proper compensation for their work or the elimination of unnecessary student fees. There has not been a single action passed to support DEI after it was dismantled by the Board of Governors months ago. Student government has even failed time and time again with one of their few meaningful responsibilities, which is appropriations. Not only was this veto and failure to overturn it disrespectful to the Palestinian students, it's a slap in the face to all of these students and organizations that signed on. This is the most student engagement you have had, yet you fail to listen to the students. Your actions send a message to students and organizations that you do not value our voice and that you do not represent us.
Thank you.
My name is Felix Willard. I'm a member of the Young Democratic Socialists of America who signed on to R29. Student government is the only institutional voice that students are granted. As such, you are meant to represent and work for the students and uplift their needs. Students like us that have previously turned to you for answers were mistaken in believing that your student government would fulfill this promise. We speak directly to you, the student government. We are here to tell you, to tell the university, and to tell our fellow students that you do not represent any of us. You have no meaningful powers or responsibilities. The few responsibilities that you do have, you neglect horribly to the point of failure. You have done nothing meaningful to benefit the student body. No students place any amount of trust or faith in you for this exact reason. In fact, this is exactly why not a single one of the representatives in this room has been elected by a majority of their peers, because no one gives enough fucks to actually vote for you. By all democratic standards, this body of quote unquote elected officials is completely illegitimate and only exists to fluff resumes and stroke egos. It is true, we did want you to be a part of this larger collective struggle to oppose Palestinian genocide. We gave you the opportunity to do something truly meaningful with the position that you have. However, the student government has refused this opportunity. Let us be the voice of the university if you do not intend to represent us. As we move past student government and as we move into the second year of this struggle, let this mark a period of escalation. You have demonstrated to us that no institution, whether it be student government or NC State or the UNC system, will aid in the fight for Palestinian liberation. We will continue our collective struggle for Palestinian liberation outside of this dishonorable room. As our final note, we wish to speak to our fellow students. This is not the end of our fight. It is only the beginning. We will build collective and representative power outside of these limiting and racist systems, and sooner or later, together we will get our aim of divestment. We will get a free Palestine and a truly liberated world. We will invest in our students, their safety, and their education. To any student organization that has signed into R29, the ceasefire resolution, we encourage you to mobilize your members on October 5th and beyond, and to continue organizing. To all students, know that you can make a difference in this world. Everything you do matters. We encourage you to organize with SJP or YDSA or other on-campus organizations. We will fight, we will make a difference, and we will win. Thank you.
Okay. Hi guys, it's Yasmin again. Try to control yourself and try not to laugh at my trauma this time. Last time I was here, I talked to you guys about my cousin who was sniped and killed in Jerusalem for breaking a traffic law. This week in the life of a Palestinian, my village, Abu Dis, which is densely populated with Palestinians seeking refuge east of Jerusalem, was raided Sunday night. They burned down houses and cars, and IDF soldiers bragged about it on their Instagram accounts. My uncle and my cousin were kidnapped and are in Israeli custody. They are both innocent men, one a journalist and one a medical student. Israel's prisons have been compared to concentration camps. So to those of you who still have empathy, I know a lot of you don't, please pray that they come home safely. Israel is now bombing Gaza, Lebanon, Yemen, and Syria all at the same time. Israel killed 550 people in Lebanon in 12 hours. That is not normal. Stop normalizing our deaths because we are Arab. Alison Margaret said that she couldn't pass this legislation because it wasn't inclusive of the student body. When are Palestinians going to be considered victims to you? Why is it our responsibility to be inclusive of our oppressors? Student government's legacy will forever be the proud silencers of Arab and Muslim voices on campus. Student government's legacy will forever be the statement that they posted on April 24th, where they labeled grieving Palestinians as bullies. The student body president's legacy will forever be her veto on a ceasefire. It was your job to represent us, but instead you gave us a pathetic attempt at centering yourselves when a real genocide is taking place. When you try to boast to your kids about what you did for Palestine when it's free, we will always remember how you stood together to silence us. Solidarity to those in student government and everywhere who stand by us and refuse to be complicit in colonialism and genocide. There is a statewide protest October 5th. It starts at the Bell Tower at 1:30. Be there, free Palestine. Thank you.
Are there any more students that wish to speak? feel really awkward asking you this question. Are there any other more students that are not a current or former member of student government that wish to speak? Okay. That being said, I said this at the other meetings and I forgot to say it at the beginning of this one. If you do need to take a second to step out, remember, please protect your peace, protect your mental health. If you need a second to step out, we also have the support team in the back. So Emily, who is our wonderful advisor, as well as Davion, who is our wonderful graduate assistant. If you guys need to talk to somebody, if you need anything like that, again, please, there's folks here. Again, I know that this is a big, heavy subject. And I want to acknowledge everybody's that this is something is really big and emotional. So with that, we're going to move on into reports, which is going to be, for the sake of time, written. We're going to do a 5-minute period, so you can take this as 5 minutes to read through these reports, and then we'll do a 5-minute period of questions for all reports in total. I apologize for not having mine on there, but biggest thing is Parley Pro cheat sheet. And then if you also, I was asked by our Chair Dean to announce that we have the bingo cards. And if you don't have one, share with your neighbor. And then you guys can both get bingo and get some fun cookies. And some snacks that have that have some cookies over there. With that, we'll go into a period of 5 minutes for everybody to go through, read the reports, skim those types of things. If anybody has any questions, we'll go from there. Does that sound good? All right, with that, 5 minutes. We should come up with some like ways to like for me to like get everybody's attention, like those like classroom like call and responses. So it's like HOTTOGO. Hey, the first year's got it. All right. The first year's got it. Come on. Okay. Thank you. All right. All right. HOTTOGO. There we go. Okay. All right. Hello. Quiet, please. All right. Let's just get this show on the road. All right. Also, there's Capri Suns and snacks and fidget toys at the front. As the fidget toys are as always, but we wanted to bring some snacks and stuff like that because we knew this was going to be a little bit of a longer meeting. So please use those to eat those to your desire and that sort of thing. And all right. So with that, are there any questions regarding any of the reports? I have a question from Senator Baker.
Hello. I would like to ask Student Body President Mark Kurt about the Tuition Review Advisory Committee and what happened with tuition.
I am going to refer that. Wait, am I allowed to refer questions?
Who are you referring to?
I was going to ask Lance because he knows more than I do.
All right. Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Could you specify specifically?
Like what proposal is being sent to the trustees or to the chancellor?
I think it was like more insight on the situation.
Yeah.
Like we
Okay.
discussed.
Yeah.
Not the engineering increase that we're going to be discussing tonight. I'm talking about general tuition.
Okay, yeah. So for just basic tuition, what you're paying, we're not increasing that. For fees, that does affect like everyone in this room. There are 3 different separate ones. And so the university has 2 different committees, the Fee Review Advisory Committee and the Tuition Review Advisory Committee. Track and frack, but we don't call it frack because that sounds nasty.
I think it's FRC is.
Okay, yeah.
FRC is
So essentially, the way that works, it's a ton of steps to actually get up to the Board of Governors. So it first has to go through these committees that are university level. There are actually people who sit on these and vote. And then that goes up to the chancellor. So then Chancellor Woodson will see all this and he takes into consideration some of what we as Student Senate will say, what the committee says, all that kind of stuff. Then it'll move up to the Board of Trustees. They'll approve it. And then finally up to the Board of Governors. So we're just kind of establishing the general opinion. Of course, we don't get the final say, but that's, yeah.
To be clear, no tuition increase was proposed for next year.
Yes, correct.
For any student.
Yeah, nothing with like tuition.
Thank you.
Yeah.
At least for in-state undergrads, from what we are aware of. We can find you a point of information if you want to for later and that sort of thing. Thank you. Thank you for the question. I also tried to draw a cute little diagram. I know it doesn't super make sense, but of the way that this goes up. So Student Senate and Track and FRC provide their recommendations to the chancellor. Both kind of like Track and FRC take our recommendations into account, or Track and FRC take our recommendations into account and then provide their guidance to the chancellor, who decides whether or not he wants to bring it forth to the Board of Trustees. And for example, if Student Senate said yes and Track said no, or like FRC said no, which has happened a couple of years ago, the chancellor gets to decide whether yes or no it continues on, if that as like a full stop point, if that makes sense. So what we're doing is we're providing a recommendation rather than a like a full like binding sort of thing, but our word is taken very heavily into account. Does that make sense? A point of information from Senator Williams.
I stand extremely dramatically corrected. It wasn't really under my view, so I kind of forgot. Yes, there were tuition increases. Yes. So essentially, there's this hold on in-state resident undergraduates cannot have tuition increases, and that's been a thing for quite a while now. Yeah. For everybody else, so if you are out-of-state undergraduate or in-state or out-of-state graduate, there has been a proposed increase. it was like 3%, 4%, somewhere in there.
Which is routine. And this is also regardless of whether or not you're in-state or out-of-state grad or undergrad, you do have guaranteed tuition, with the exception of premium tuition, as we are learning. You do have guaranteed tuition rates for like once you start your degree. So like everybody here is locked in because you're an enrolled student, but this is for like incoming classes and that sort of thing. Does that make sense? All right. Okay. With that, I saw Proxy Dixon. Did you have a question?
For Isaac, could you speak more on the Latinx event that was on your report?
Yeah, thank you. Well, first I want to say Happy Latinx Heritage Month, everybody. There's 13 days left till the end of the month, and all I have to say until the end of that is mi gente Latino. But in all seriousness, this is a great event that we're planning, partnership with MSA, and it's called Noche de Bailando, Night of Dancing. It's going to feature performances from Sube Ritmo, Folklorico, to Latinx performance organizations on campus. But most important, and I think great for all of us in the room, there will be a student government legend giving a keynote address at that event. That's Jackie Gonzalez, former student body president during the 97th session and the first Latinx student body president. She now works in the office of Congresswoman Deborah Ross. So she's incredible, and I'm so excited that she's going to be at that event. And so please come out. That's October 9th from 7 to 9 in the Kuritik Ballroom.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Next, we have Senator Mengested.
This is actually a question for you, Senator Miranda. In that ladder that you drew on the board, one, who are TRAC and FRC actually composed of?
Mhm.
And two, I'm assuming every step on this ladder has final say over every step below them. And do we have any kind of recourse, assuming anything is shot down upon that ladder?
Yeah. So actually, TRAC and FRC is TRAC stands for Tuition Review and Advisory Committee. That is co-chaired by our wonderful student body president and the provost, Provost Arden. So that's a co-chair of that, and that's made up of student representatives such as like myself and our Senator Williams as tuition and fees chair. As well as there's some graduate student representation on there as well, but it's a lot of like university level like administrative things from all different departments about that kind of thing. FRC, which is the Student Fee Review Committee, is co-chaired by myself and Vice Chancellor Dr. Scott, who is the chancellor over Division of Academic and Student Affairs. I chair that as in my role as Student Senate President. So within that, neither of these are binding, I guess, in that sort of way. Like it's kind of, this ladder is kind of a little bit of that, if that makes sense. So what's going to be fun is that tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. I have a meeting for TRAC. Not for TRAC, for FRC, sorry, for where I will talk about all that's going to happen later today, the kind of the results of our experiment, if you want to say with that kind of thing. And I'm going to be like, hey, this is what the Student Senate thinks. And FRC will take that into account when they're making their recommendation for yes or no. But then we will be able, along with Allison and the two other co-chairs, will present all of both the Student Senate findings as well as the FRC and TRAC findings to the Chancellor and be like, hey, this is what our respective bodies have said and that sort of thing. The Chancellor is the first like full stop or full send in that sort of way, if that makes sense. Does that provide you better oversight? As well as then the Board of Trustees is the next like full stop. And then obviously the Board of Governors has to approve any of these fees. So for first full stop and full send, if that sort of thing. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
Okay.
it does. Thank you.
Perfect. Awesome. So so it's kind of also
I don't know if this is clear from kind of the conversation. No, it's not set up where like every advisory body has like full control over like what's below it. We just exist as like our own systems that provide recommendations to the chancellor. We serve as advisory boards of different parts of the campus community to do so.
Yeah. Oh. Okay. All right, perfect. Does that clarify any other questions? Okay, awesome. With that, Proxy Aleem.
I'd like to ask this question to the chair of the Board of Elections. So I was reading your little report here. What is your timeline after the application closes for you to get the rest of your board, as well as how do you want to prepare them for the spring election?
Yeah, so really what we're aiming for right now is we're going to try to get everyone confirmed by November 1st because we're going to need to have those dates down for the spring election by, I'd say, around November 10th. I'd be happy with. But I'm going to try to train the board the best I can because, this is my first year as well in this role. But yeah, that's my plan.
A point of information from student body president.
Applications closes the 11th. Interviews will be held the 18th, 21st, 22nd. It will go out and be confirmed. Our process will be confirmed by GROW, which is, I think meets on Thursdays, so the 24th, and be confirmed at next Senate meeting on the 30th. Senate Ween.
Senate Ween, yay! Also Senate Ween, that's the meeting that's closest to Halloween. So we encourage you to come in costume. So if you want to be prepared, there's some interesting ones. We've had ranging from a hot dog to like a Jedi Master, and then Senator Pittman, what was your costume last year? Remind me. At Senate Ween.
I was Walter White, first place, baby.
Okay, all right. Are there? Thank you for that. For clarifying that. I was like, I couldn't remember. I knew you came in at full hazmat suit, but all right. With that, are there any other questions for reports? All right, seeing none, we will move into a period of comments and announcements where any current or former member of student government may address the Senate for not to exceed 1 minute. Senator Hines, you have the floor.
Okay, hi y'all. This is I'm Michaela Hines. I am one of our SGRC liaisons, and so I go to IRC meetings I work with the other liaisons to attend the IRC meetings every week, and basically go there and act as, I guess, an SG stand-in, take notes on their meetings, and also report to them what we talked about in our meetings. So at this past meeting, they previously had a committee, I believe, on service and recognition, and it had died down just due to lack of attendance and lack of participation. And so they brought it back, and so they have a VP of service and recognition. And so basically, she is going to be in charge of, I guess, honoring students, staff in the housing sector department, and like giving them the recognition. And also they plan on giving them gifts, certificates, and things like that. And so students are able to nominate people in housing staff, students that have had an impact on them, programs that they found really helpful to them. And so they're able to nominate them and have them be honored on the IRC website, Instagram, and possibly receive gifts and certificates. So that's one thing that they're starting to do. So if you're interested in that, be on the lookout for that. I'm sure they'll be posting and sending out more information about that. And they're planning on doing that on a monthly basis. They're also planning a Spook Sober event on October 18th, and that's going to be on Harris Field, which is in front of Witherspoon. And so it's going to be like a big Halloween event where there's going to be games, prizes, food, all of that. So be on the lookout for more information about that. For the hurricane relief effort, they're having a donation place set up in Lee Hall in the Y Suite. So if you have donations, please go and drop it off there. And so they'll be accepting donations there until Friday at 12 p.m. And yeah.
Thank you so much. All right, I think I saw Senator Dean next, and then we'll go up here.
Hi guys, a few things. So first one, the bingo cards. I counted and did my math horribly wrong. So there's probably 21 cards around here instead of I was supposed to print 72. So please share next to your person. I also linked the card in the reports of the standing committees. So if you want a digital copy, you can see that there. These cards are ultimately just to get you guys engaged, and specifically for our first year senators and senators who aren't as confident speaking, it kind of gives you an incentive to start speaking more. And so it's pretty fun. And then yeah, so I have like 30 cookies too. So first come, first serve after the meeting. I'll hand them out. Second thing, delegation heads. Please, like for first year senators and for college and natural resource senators, we will need you all to after the meeting when you guys get sworn in, whenever Pro Temp Dewberry decides.
We're electing it during wellness break.
During wellness break, yeah. So please select your delegation head, and then I will come and find you. Not like meanly, but like just so we can like start planning like delegation head like committee work and stuff like that and outreach events. And the last thing I want to talk about is the protest on October 5th. So this protest is marking 1 year of Israel's genocide on Palestine. And so we really want to have a lot of people come out to this because 1 year is way too long. And so it starts at 1:30. We're starting at the Bell Tower. We're going to march to Moore Square, where it'll be like a statewide protest there. So there will be a lot of people. And so we can't forget that Israel is currently bombing Yemen, Syria, and Lebanon. So keep that in your mind and in your thoughts. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Now we'll move into student body president. Go for it.
Hi, guys. So within my report, I kind of just wanted to touch on a few things that I felt were pretty pressing and pretty important. So kind of jumping off what Senator Hines was saying is yesterday we released the SBO statement, our third statement of the year regarding our student government disaster relief plan. This was kind of created after some recommendations from administration, other SBOs, talking to students at different schools. And so we have kind of been instructed to facilitate our efforts towards supporting a couple of different funds and methodologies. First off is focusing on supporting direct funds. Administration recommended American Red Cross and North Carolina Disaster Relief Fund, which are currently like face-on first responders with a lot of communities within Western North Carolina. And so we're promoting that on a kind of national level, statewide level. We're choosing to focus on the Western North Carolina schools, including App State, Western Carolina University, and UNC Asheville. We have linked some of their school-specific disaster relief funds. So donating to this and promoting this directly supports students as well as their DASA-adjacent organizations. And then finally, in the method of kind of physical donations, there's a lot of ways to donate. Senator Dean also has a donation drive running to take materials back with Amara, I believe, at the end of this week. So she's available. We are running as well a donation drive all of this week and all of next week to be collected in the Blue Room that's supporting Triangle Mutual Aid Fund. I linked right under my name in the report Hurricane Relief Drive signups. So for the most part, it looks great. You guys have done amazing signing up to get some of your names in. I added 2 spots this Thursday and next Thursday. This is going to be a collaboration with our Department of Athletics. Department of Athletics sees a lot of face time with students as they're passing out parking passes for big games coming up. For us, this is Demon Deacons. What school is the Demon Deacons?
Wake Forest.
Wake Forest, sorry. Is the Wake Forest game coming up and then the game over fall break. A lot of students are excited. I think we see over like 700 or something so students. So we're tabling right next to them in Wolf Plaza. So if you guys would be able to sign up, there's going to be a lot of students there, and we're going to promote it on our Instagram that we're seeing that a lot of times. So we're hoping to see a lot of communication. With that, instructions would be to gather materials, spread information. We have flyers going up and take it to the Blue Room, and we will have groups of people like taking it down to Triangle Mutual Aid. Let me know if you have any questions regarding that, and thank you for signing up if you have already.
Okay, awesome. All right, Senator Aleem.
I yield my time to Amara.
Yeah, thank you again.
Hi, y'all. We don't have these at App State, so mind me if I misuse them. But hi, my name is Amara Dean. I'm the Student Body Vice President at Appalachian State University. So I just want to say thank y'all for being a welcoming space here for me today and to be able to speak to y'all about our current situation in Western North Carolina. Just some quick notes. Like Allison mentioned, supply donations can be kept at the front of the room. Hallie was very kind in bringing a box for y'all to go ahead and put them in. So go ahead and put those in if you can. And any monetary donations can be put towards the App State Disaster Relief Fund, which can be found on the App State homepage at appstate.edu. And just for clarification about where these donations are going, I'll be driving to Boone tomorrow morning, actually, and I'll be there for the next couple of days volunteering and distributing all these donations. And I'll likely be going to some of the smaller rural areas as well, as long as it's possible and safe for me to do so. So thank you all so much for your support. But I did just have a few things written that I wanted to talk about and spread awareness on. But first, I want to say thank you all for your support in these difficult times. There is no doubt that the devastation in the western region of North Carolina is catastrophic. Millions of people have been without power, clean water, food, modes of transportation and communication, and so much more. Cars have been smashed to pieces, roads no longer exist, homes have been flattened, and entire towns have been wiped off the map. Countless individuals and family members are still missing and unaccounted for. It has been confirmed that at least 2 people in the town of Boone have died from the hurricane. On App State's campus, academic buildings have been flooded and damaged by the hurricane. And as of today, it was announced that we will not be returning to classes until October 16th or even later. While the App State and Boone community is deeply hurting, I want to take a moment to call attention to the following North Carolina towns who are suffering at even worse levels than we are. There's Newland, Chimney Rock, Cranberry, Burnsville, Roan Mountain, Elk River, Swannanoa, Spruce Pine, Bakersville, and so many more. When donating and spreading awareness, please take some time to recognize the impact that these smaller rural communities have experienced. They are just as much deserving of your support during these times. In all of this destruction, I see hope. I see students, faculty, staff, administration, locals, and communities from all across the state coming together in ways I have never seen before, and it is truly beautiful and inspiring. During the next few weeks or months even, I ask you all as representatives and as advocates to seek ways to support Western North Carolina and anyone else affected by global climate change. Advocacy is rooted in peace and justice, and it extends beyond borders. Though we all might think that we are just members of a student government, we can do so much more for the greater community by realizing the impact we have. From the App State SGA and Boone community, we thank you all for your outpouring love and support for our community. Please continue to seek ways to uplift our community members in these times. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for speaking and also trying to include the links on the agenda. If you have any of those that you want to send me to link, send them directly to me. All right. Thank you. All right. Proxy Aleem.
Just to piggyback off of Allison and our IRC rep, at the IRC meeting yesterday, they were like asking where the blue room is. So if you see anybody that has been like, that doesn't know where it is, just kind of point them in the direction of the blue room if you see them in the suite.
For folks who don't know where the blue room is, it's the first room on the right after you like pass the table with all of the stickers and flyers and stuff like that. Does that sound good? It's 4251P is what we're referring to. So yeah. Pro Tempore Dewberry.
Thank you again to the App State VP for coming out and talking about the cause. Additionally, thank you everyone. I didn't realize we were allowed to talk about important parts in our report, so I will just mention one thing. Arguably one of the most important things that I get to lead as pro temp is our annual SSP review. In the past, the chairs of the All Chairs Council, as well as pro temp, have just done it ourselves. We are doing it differently this year. I am tasking all the chairs, and I will send out reminders in their committees next week to get your input and feedback for our Student Senate President, which we'll all take in our next All Chairs meeting in November. And this month, to begin writing the SSP review, which will be made public to all of you on our second to last meeting of the Student Senate, so on October 30th. Thank you all.
Oh no, scary. No, I'm excited to have y'all's feedback. So like we've had a lot of senators and it can't all be represented by our chairs. So excited to have all y'all's feedback. I'm so sorry, trying to keep these meetings as short as possible. With that, is there any other comments or announcements for student government members? Seeing none, we'll move into the announcement of resignations. We have Kayla Bigley, who is a senator for the College of Textiles, and Kaylee Carpenter, who is a senator for the College of Agricultural and Life Sciences. We have one appointment that is for filling this today, and then another. We have somebody confirmed to fill the appointment, but they'll be up for appointment next meeting. So. With that, we'll move into the approval of appointments of senators and other student government officials. Do I have a motion from Secretary Carter?
I move to consider the approval of these appointments in block, all of them.
Okay, so a motion has been made to consider all of these appointments in block. What this means is we're considering them all at once rather than individually one after another. Is there a second? A second from Senator Taylor. All right, all those in favor of considering all of these appointments, including the Treasury official, in block, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay. Nay. All right, ayes have it. And so these appointments will be considered in block. All right, and so what we'll do is all of these, if all of the people who are up on this board, on the screen, please come forward and talk. So you guys can introduce yourselves and so forth. It's 90. You'll each have 90 seconds to introduce yourself. Just come up towards this podium up here. You'll have 90 seconds to introduce yourself, and then say your name, your major, name, pronouns, major, and if you're like what college, I guess, or like whether you're going for a senator or who's our Treasury official. Okay, your Treasury official. Does everybody remember that? All right. Name, college, and why do you want to be a senator? So, we'll have you go first. Yes, you. All right. Whenever you're ready, go for it.
Hello, I am Case Alexander, pronouns he, him, his. I am a second year, currently officially in industrial engineering, hoping to soon transfer into business and finance, and was hoping to take this role as Treasury official to be able to just gain a wider scope of kind of the business and finance aspects, and just be able to kind of work with that going forward and take a role to help learn and broaden my horizons. That's all.
Yep. Thank you. You have up to 90 seconds. So yeah, just wait. Just wait right there. All right, you make it.
Okay. Hello, my name is Stephanie Zalo Vasquez. I am a first year natural resources major. And I am sorry. And I'm super excited to be here with everyone. I love NC State and I love the College of Natural Resources. So I more than anything just want to be part of uplifting everyone's voices and representing what the people want and need. So,
okay. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jean Apperson. I use they, them, theirs pronouns, and I'm in the College of Natural Resources with a major of wildlife conservation. I'm very interested in this position because I want to help act as a bridge between the student government here and the general student body, to be like a friendly face that people feel comfortable coming up to talk to and discuss the issues they want heard. And I also just want to help when I can and try to make a difference here at NC State. Thank you.
Hey everyone, my name is Soumitra Joshi. I'm a first year student at Wilson College of Textiles. I'm majoring in polymer science. I'm planning to double major in biochemistry. One of the reasons why I'm running, I'm a senator now. No, wait, am I?
You're appointee, so you're close.
Okay,
you're
yeah.
close.
Okay,
so
yeah.
close.
Okay, yeah, because I want to connect with people here at the student government as well as people at the College of Textiles. So yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Hello, my name's Tyler. I'm in the College of Natural Resources. I think that a student senator has a job to represent what the students want, and sometimes that's not so obvious. And I feel like sometimes I haven't felt like there's been a good job to really reach out, especially with considering there are no College of Natural Resources senators at the moment. sometimes that's obvious. I think both deserve to be represented and fought for. So that's why I want to be a student senator. Also, I want to, as somebody from Western North Carolina, whose family has been, hit by the hurricane, they're thankfully not as bad as some. I appreciate what everybody's done.
Just stay up there. All right. So now we will move into a period of up to 5 minutes for questions. Are there any questions for our either Senate appointees or Treasury appointees? If you want to address it to one or all, please. Okay. Proxy Aleem with a question.
For the Treasury official appointee. So can you elaborate on broaden your horizons, and can you give us a little bit about why you want to be a part of Treasury?
As someone hoping to go into a business and finance focused degree, I would like to be able to work with kind of money and allocating funds and things along those lines before going straight into a career, just to hopefully give me a step up on the kind of the competition once I am working towards a job and career.
Okay. All right. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. A query from Senator DeBay.
For our Treasury official, come on back to the podium. I was
Well, that's not me.
I was wondering what made you make the switch from industrial engineering to the finance side.
Is this germane to the appointments?
No, maybe no.
No.
I'm
I'm going to say no, so we're going to continue on.
All right.
Thank you. All right. Are there any other queries for you can ask him that sorry, what pronouns do you use? Okay, you can ask him later. Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, are there any other questions related to the appointments? A query from Senator Roy. Okay. Awesome.
Okay, this can be for like anyone, but what would you say is like your biggest strength coming into the role that you're applying for, you're wanting to go for?
We'll just go into whatever order you feel like.
Okay, so I recently took like the top 5 your Clifton strengths, so whatever that is, fully titled. But my top strength there is development, which means I see the potential in pretty much everybody. Right now, I see a room full of people who I know are destined to do great things. And I like to describe myself as everyone's biggest fan. And I feel like this is just a platform to me to be a bigger cheerleader.
Yeah, I also took that, and I don't remember my results, but I mean, I guess I know this sounds like such a like cop out answer, but I'm really good at listening, guys. I swear. I like notice the tiny details to the point where it's kind of obnoxious. People hate me for that, but it's okay. But I think I see that as a strength, especially in as a student senator, where hearing people's voices is the most important part of the job. So that's what I would consider my biggest strength.
I just like helping people. That comes from basically back in high school. So high school, we had this SAT tutoring program basically, and I was able to lead the program. And we were officially be able to raise the scores by about 50 points on average. And I think where that mostly came from was from basically understanding the problems that students faced. So I think my strength is mostly into like understanding what your problems are. So that's why I thought of like running for a student senate.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I wish I had a little more time to think about this, but I think I'm really good at attendance. I'm usually there every day.
We need people who show up. All right. Awesome. Oh, goodness. Etcheburu.
All right.
I forgot about this part.
Okay, can you give me everyone just one word to describe yourself?
Don't have to go up to the mic, just shout it.
Yeah, shout it out.
All right. Next. Curious. Okay, what's next? Going. Determined. Ooh. All right, awesome. A query from Senator Webster. I forgot about the bingo card part of this. Okay.
This question is for anyone but the treasury person, because I think you kind of answered this already. So I won't put you through that again. But what about like the Senate position? Because there's so many different positions in the student government. What about the Senate position in particular drew you to it, and like what made you feel like a good fit for it?
Let's do short sentences. If you want, if you know it, go for it. Just shout it out. Or if you all don't, you can come closer too. We don't bite. I'm sorry. But yeah, that sort of thing.
I think the size of like the Senate actually is what captivated me, because there's so many people here, and we like so many people are represented, like even our graduate students, which I feel like is I personally I value that a lot. So that's what drew me into Student Senate.
Thank you. You can answer it if you want to or not. What? Time is up. Okay, actually, are y'all okay with hearing or not hearing the rest of this? Okay. Do you guys want to extend the period to hear or not hear the rest of it? No. Okay. All right. All right. With that, wait. What?
That wasn't about y'all. We're just tired.
Okay. All right. Sergeant Arms Williams. All right. If you guys will follow our Sergeant Arms, we will have a discussion. It's not a debate. It's a discussion. At least two of them. At least two. At least two of them were No, I say at least two because I know because they put it send it out on the application. All right. All right. Discussion. Any points of discussion? Pro from the pro tempore.
So excited to see so many new applicants, especially from CNR, a delegation that is notoriously empty. Also, so happy to see even more first years join the Student Senate. Last year when I was in Senate, I always said we had like a 13-person delegation because we had like 3 new first years outside of our first years. Very excited to have the new voices on campus.
All right. Awesome. That was pro. These are all, just raise your pro card. Senator Rolfe.
I'm happy to hear that one of the senators says that they are alive. I think that having alive senators is much better than having dead ones.
Okay. Okay.
Or a treasury
All right.
official, whatever.
Senator Barrett.
I really like these this new group of elected senators. They bring a lighthearted it's very lighthearted, like their personalities, and it really helps with like how heavy things have been recently in Senate, and I feel like having them around would be really
All right.
good for us.
Awesome. We have a motion from Senator Baker.
Move the previous question.
Okay, previous question has been called and seconded moved by Baker, seconded by Carter. All in favor of previous question, which means we end debate and go directly into a vote, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay. Nay. Ayes have it. All right, ayes have it, and unless somebody calls division, we're going to go into a roll call vote. Secretary Carter, you have the floor.
Thank you. All right, you can vote yes, no, abstain, or pass, and I will come back to you. Let's hope this thing works this time. Abdul Alim. Yes. Ahmed. Yes. Aleem. Al-Shamari. Yes. Baker. Yes. Barker. Yes. Barrett. Yes. Biggs. Yes. Boaj. Kars. Yes. I vote yes. Chiganti. Cook. Yes. DeVay. Yes. Davis. Yes. Dewberry. Yes. Dean. Yes. Dixon. Dunn. Yes. Etchebaroo. Yes. Fields. Yes. Frank. Yes. Hardwick. Hernandez. Yes. Hines. Yes. Ibrahim. Kalanina. Yes. Khan. Kalu, Ledford, Lennon, Lewis, Lundergan, Mengestab, Mobley, Nandula, Perez, Perry, Piryani, Pittman, Price, Rao, Robertson, Robinson, Rolfe, Roman, Roy, Shonik, Seitz, Shahid, Taylor, Urchuk, Watts, Webb, Webster, Webster, yes, Wedsparger, Watley, Lance Williams, Rayshawn Williams, Yasa, Show. Awesome. Did I miss anyone, or would anyone like to change their vote? Cool.
With 50 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, these appointments do pass, and we will welcome them in with a round of applause. Let Lance announce it, and then we'll all clap.
Congratulate your new appointee.
Okay, so now we'll move into a wellness break. So there's been a request to fill out the legislative workshop form if you have not already. And then delegation heads for CNR and first year, we will conduct those elections over in that corner. So if you are first year or first year, like first year delegation or a CNR senator, please meet us over there.
Oh, wait.
Two-tongue weight
We forgot to set a timer, but we're going to call it because it's 10:22 and we have not touched legislation yet. All right.
Senator DeVay.
I'm gonna need my
That was inappropriate.
temporary legislative secretary to please come to the front as well. All right. Ursher?
I can read the title.
Okay. You can't do first reading in block. Sorry. All right. We have no veto messages. We have no consent agenda. Oh wait, muting. Wait. It's all right. It's unmuted. We good? Okay. All right. We have no consent agenda. You can read what that means, and we'll describe it whenever it comes to it. All right. First reading of legislation. Secretary Carter, will you please read the long title?
Yes, I'm sorry, Clea, I'm opening all the bills right now.
Or do you
One
want?
of them I don't have access.
Okay. SB, I'm just going to do it. SB 54, a Senate bill to be entitled an act to amend the standing rules of the Student Senate for the purpose of reducing the volume of Student Senate related emails. Is SB 55, the Veto Statement Act, a Senate bill to be entitled an act to add a section on veto statements from the student body president in student body statutes. That's gonna. All right. After this point, we'll have our legislative secretary. So while we're getting settled, first reading is the point of like kind of making everybody aware. We read the long title and then we move on. Then after first reading, if it is not fast tracked, it goes to committee. And then after committee, it gets amended, it gets workshopped, it gets changed a little bit, and then sent back to Senate with a review. And that's when second reading is when we talk about it as Big Senate and that sort of thing, as people sometimes like to call it. All right, so moving on, GB 56, the Delegation of the Year Award Act. Yes, you're reading now.
A government bill to be entitled an act to amend the student body statutes to include a Delegation of the Year Award and codify the Committee of the Year Award.
Okay, awesome. FB 57, Inspire Engineer Funding Act. Sorry, I butchered that. All right, continue. Yes. you have to
No,
say-
like the
Yes.
silly word. Okay.
Yes.
A finance bill to be entitled an act to allocate student government funds for the purpose of funding Inspire Engineer.
Inspire Engineer, I think, or something like that. Okay. Okay. FB 57, Cross Country Track and Field Funding Act.
Do I have
Yes, you hit a long title every time.
No, it's not. It's not.
Parker didn't give us access.
Oh,
Do you have it in front of you?
yes, I have it in front of me.
Yes. A finance bill to be entitled an act to allocate student government funds for the purpose of funding cross country track and field.
We will work on getting access soon. R50. Oh, sorry, skipped ahead. FB 50. Or wait, no, we're actually we are R59, Western North Carolina Solidarity Act.
A resolution to be entitled an act to show institutional support for Western North Carolina after the destruction of Hurricane Helen.
Right. All right. Helene. All right. So, there is a fast track on 57, 58, and 59. There is a motion from Secretary Carter.
I move to consider these fast tracks en bloc.
All right. Second from who was that over there? Who called it? I heard a deeper voice back here. Senator Smith, correct? Smith. Okay. Smith with the second. All in favor of considering these motions en bloc, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. All right, these motions will be considered, motions for fast track will be considered en bloc. All right, so now we will have up to a period of 5 minutes for the questions for the fast track of legislation. Is there any questions as to why we are fast tracking this? Seeing none, we will now move into the all of these pieces of legislation were motioned over the listserv with the proper notice. Is there a second? DeVay, a question from Senator DeVay. Query from Senator DeVay.
Can I just get a little bit of a understanding of why FB 57 and FB 58 are being fast tracked?
Okay, so for context, finance bills have always been fast tracked because the creation of them starts in committee because they've already come and presented to finance committee, and so to send them back to finance committee is a little redundant, if that makes sense. So they've kind of like how GROW, technically all appointments come from GROW. Does that make sense? This is something that's a little outdated with our finance bills and that sort of thing, but I think that might be rectified in the future. Hint, hint, wink, wink. I think somebody's cooking up some legislation. All right. With that, or over there, something like that. I've heard wind of that. Anyways, regardless, does that clarify your question? Yeah. Okay. Precedent. One word answer. Precedent. All right. With that, is there a second for these motions to fast track? Actually, okay, yeah, a motion, second from Pro Tempore Dewberry. All in favor of fast tracking these pieces of legislation, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it, and so these pieces of legislation will be calendared for second reading. All right, awesome. Now we are going to go to referrals to committee, which means that I need my little paper to tell me which ones I was going to send these to. Okay. All right. So SB 54 and GB 56, I'm going to send to GROW, and SB 55, I'm sending to rules. If you have any questions on that, please let me know. Happy to clarify that answer, but for now, those are going to GROW and rules. All right, now we're moving into second reading of legislation. We will now move, we'll start with SR 49, if we could have the long title read for the second and hopefully final time.
A Senate resolution to be entitled an act to establish the student government opinion on fee increase for student center operations and campus enterprises.
Okay, awesome. So SR 49 was sponsored by Senator Lance Williams as the corresponding senator. Excuse me, apologies. You have 5 minutes to deliver your sponsor report.
As we have heard from the presentations already, I want to keep these very quick and factual. So essentially, this is student center operations under campus enterprises. They're asking for $7 increase for this budget. And essentially, this is for the operations of our big two student centers, Tally Student Union and Witherspoon Student Center. And some of the concerns they have if this is not to be passed is that they would possibly have to reduce hours of tally and stuff along those lines. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. That was this was also actually, I forgot to, I gave you 10 minutes combined for tuition and fees committee report. Do you have anything to report from the committee?
That will come from my vice chair.
Okay. All right. You have 5 minutes to deliver your committee report.
Okay. Hello, my name is Vice Chair Perry. In this situation, I suppose. So with R49, we chose to move this with non-prejudicial review, which means that we move this without favor or unfavor because we think it should be debated by Student Senate because we think it's important. For SR50, we chose to approve. We found this important because, we think that Tally needs a lot of
This is just
new-
SR 49 right now. So let's just start
Okay.
with SR 49. So it was sent back to Senate with a non-prejudicial review, as opposed to a favorable review or an unfavorable review, or not sending it back to Senate at all, because that is an option. So that just means it's like an unbiased, or like there was mixed debate, or just didn't love it, didn't hate it, that sort of thing. Is there anything else for the committee report that you wanted to note?
No, that would be all.
All right. There was a couple of amendments since this happened at first reading. Notably, there's a second resolved clause, as well as we just kind of updated some numbers and that sort of thing in tuition and fees. So with that, we will move into a period of 10 minutes for questions regarding this piece of legislation, and then we will move into debate, not to exceed 21 minutes. Queries are still valid in debate, but do count against your time of being able to speak twice. So with that, are there any pieces of questions on this piece of legislation? Is that a motion? What's your motion? okay, previous question has been called. This means that we will move straight from the period of questions into debate. You didn't, I was about to close it, so that's why I was going to say. Is there a second for previous question? A second from previous question from Senator Webster. All in favor of previous question, which means we'll move directly into a period of debate. Please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay. All right, we're now in a period of debate. So now we're in a period of debate. We'll start alternating pro and con, starting with pro. Is there anybody who has any pro debate on this piece of legislation? Senator Williams, Chair Williams.
I think this is an amazing piece of legislation. I believe that with just a $7 fee increase, it still is very important. I'm sure all of us could not imagine an NC State University campus without Tally Student Union as the center and heart. And I want to make sure that we can continue to operate Tally as we have it now. And this also will benefit student workers within Tally. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. That was pro debate. Is there con debate? I have a query from Senator Dean.
I have a point of clarification, like for the chair. Did you say like earlier that the questions do count towards like your time for debate, or was I mishearing?
Technically answering a question. So if this is what like you were answering a question, it does count as towards your time of debate.
Oh, okay, that's what you say.
So, but like if I can answer a question, that's just like the clock is running for 21 minutes. All right. So that was pro debate. Is there any con debate? Seeing no con debate, I'm going to move on to pro debate. Senator Baker.
Tuition and fees is one of the most important things this body does. I know we're tired. I know we're exhausted. We need to take this really freaking seriously. This is a really good piece of legislation. I agree. It helps student workers. I think these buildings, we can't do this body without this building. So I think this is a really good piece of legislation. I think we should pass it.
All right. Awesome. Thank you. That was pro debate. Is there a con debate? Seeing no con debate, I'm going to go back to pro debate. Senator Dean.
I'd just like to reiterate that I think this is like great. And I think that helping out student workers with a pay increase is something that we should always be considering as an opportunity.
Okay. All right, awesome. That was pro debate. Is there any con debate? Seeing no con debate, I'm going to close the period of debate and we're going to go directly into a roll call. All right, and so Secretary Carter, you have the floor. So I'm going to clarify this while Secretary Carter is getting this up. The way that the piece of legislation is it is endorsing the fee increase. So if you vote yes, you're voting to endorse the fee increase. If you're voting no, you're voting against the fee increase. Okay, I'm clarifying this now because it's going to get a little bit confusing in a piece of legislation or two. So
thank you. You can vote yes, no, abstain, or pass, and I will come back to you. Abdul Aleem, Ahmed, Aleem, Al-Shamari, Baker, Barker, Barrett, Biggs, Boaj, Kars. Yes. I vote yes. Chiganti, Cook, DeVay, yes. Davis, yes. Dewberry, yes. Dean, yes. Dixon, yes. Dunn, yes. Etchebaroo, yes. Fields, yes. Frink, yes. Hardwick, Hernandez, yes. Hines, yes. Ibrahim, Kalanina, yes. Khan, Kalu, yes. Ledford, yes. Lennon, yes. Lewis, yes. Lundergan, Mengestab, Mobley, Nandula. Sorry, we said Did Mobley say yes? Yes. Yes, cool. Perez, yes. Perry, yes. Piryani, yes. Pittman, yes. Price, yes. Rao, Robertson, yes. Robinson, Rolfe, yes. Roman, yes. Roy, yes. Shonik, Seitz, yes. Shahid, yes. Taylor, yes. Urchuk, yes. Watts, Webb, Webster, yes. Wetzbarger, yes. Watley, yes. Lance Williams, yes. Rayshawn Williams, Yasa, yes. Joe, Smith, Apperson, Vasquez, Joshi. Awesome. Did I miss anyone or would anyone like to change their vote?
Okay. With 53 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, this piece of legislation does pass and will be reported to FRC tomorrow. All right. Awesome. Thank you. All right. So Student Centers Repairs and Renovations Fee Act Legislative Secretary Proxy, or temporary, will you please read the long title?
A Senate resolution to be entitled an act to establish the student government opinion on fee increase for student center repair and renovations campus enterprises.
This piece of legislation was referred back to Senate with a favorable review, and the corresponding sponsor is Senator Lance Williams. So you have 5 minutes to deliver your sponsor report.
Okay, like we've already heard, this one is for $10, just ever so slightly more, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the other fee increase. You can't have people working in the buildings if the buildings are falling apart. So that's really what this fee increase is looking to work towards. And essentially, a big part of this is that we should work on funding repairs now, so it's not catastrophic damages that we're having to pay a lot more money to in the future. So this really is a preventative fee increase.
Okay, awesome. This piece of legislation was referred to the Permanent Committee on Tuition and Fees. And as stated, technically, Senator Williams, you have 5 minutes, but just to save some time, Senator Perry, Vice Chair Perry.
Okay, yeah. So tuition and fees looked at this. We decided to give it a favorable review to come back to Senate. Yes, we favored it for the exact same reasons that were stated before. We think it's important that Tally Student Union and Witherspoon be updated and maintained, and especially considering such as the bathrooms in Witherspoon was a big factor that made us vote favorably in favor of this. So yeah.
Okay, awesome. Now we'll move into a period of 10 minutes for questions. Are there any questions on this piece of legislation? Seeing none, we'll move into a period of debate. Not to exceed 21 minutes, alternating pro and con. Because we had pro last, we will start with con. Is there any con debate on this piece of legislation? Con debate from Senator Biggs.
I'm all for a increasing the budget for this. I understand that it's a necessary thing. I just think that it's too high. I understand like accounting for inflationary changes, but I think this is just a little too much in my opinion.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. All right, that was that was con debate. Do I see any pro debate? I see pro debate from Senator Robertson. Sorry, continue.
So Witherspoon is getting old. The air conditioning systems in Witherspoon are outdated. They're going to have to be replaced. And when it came to committee, he talked about it being about $200,000 to replace one. And there are 10 on the building at Witherspoon. They've only replaced 2 so far, so there are 8 left. These air conditioning systems, the cost of them is going to continue to increase. So while we can, I think we need to go ahead and pass this so that we can replace those air conditioning systems and cost us less in the future.
Oh, awesome. Is that a query? Do you have a query? Okay, query from Senator Cars.
On the committee reports, it says SR 51, Student Center Repair and Renovations, passed with impartial review. Is this something different, or is that just a typo?
That might have been a mistake, but it did pass with favorable review. Operations was in non-prejudicial review, and then so on and so forth. Okay, I can clarify that in the future if anybody needs it. Okay, that was pro debate. Now I'm going to recognize con debate from Senator Baker.
I'll be honest, I'm struggling with this one a little bit. We already pay for these buildings in our fees one time because we pay the loans on these buildings. So now we get to pay for them a second time as a part of a capital fee. So I'm not saying this is necessarily like fully a bad fee. I get it. Inflation. I get it. We got to have carpet. We got to have air conditionings. We're just paying for this once already. So that's a hard sell to me.
Yeah, I guess a quick point of information. We used to have a tally specific center fee. And if you look on the mandatory fees that's linked at the bottom, it does tell you about the indebtedness fees that we are still paying as students. And I know that there's the student center expansion. And I'm not sure I think that's for like expanding these types of things, because they did mention some possible expansions to student centers, but this is not like, this is repairs and renovations, so it's a different category. Just to let you know.
Yeah, and that is directly what I'm referring to.
Okay, yeah.
I'm referring to the indebtedness fees that paid for the original renovations to these
Mhm.
buildings and the expansion of these buildings.
Yep. All right. Yeah, no, just wanted to clarify that it's not the like actual building itself. That was something that we were paying until last year. So, all right. With that, that is con debate. I see pro debate from Senator Watley.
All right, I just wanted to say with these buildings, since such a sizable investment has already been made into them, it makes sense to take care of them accordingly. It's a lot cheaper to maintain these things and fix them when they break, as well as update them before it's an actual problem. These resources that are going into it, you know, might do carpet or light fixtures or whatever before they break, but in the long run, that keeps the buildings a lot nicer and makes the investment we already made a much better one, as opposed to where we pay a ton of money and have outdated, derelict buildings.
Thank you. That was pro debate. Do I see con debate? Do I see con debate on this legislation? Proxy Aleem, did you have a con debate up earlier? Daniel. Did you have con debate up earlier? Okay, I thought I saw you did, so I want to make sure. All right, that was pro debate. Or pro debate, no con debate. Seeing pro debate from Secretary Urchuk. I'm so sorry. There's too many. No, there's not too many of y'all. I'm so excited to have all of you here. I'm just forgetting names. Go for it.
Just want to shout out Witherspoon. Witherspoon is the heart of our student media, and I love it so much. It is like a second home to me. The people that I've met there are phenomenal, and that's like where they call home and where they work. And then secondly, I love me some ADA compliance. My best friend recently became disabled within the last year, which has completely shifted my view on life, on this university. And so I love seeing the university and certain partners take those steps forward to make this campus more accessible for individuals.
Okay, awesome. That was pro debate. Do I see any con debate? Is that it? Okay, that's pro debate. Sorry. I see pro debate. What does yours say on there? Okay, that's pro debate. Pro debate from seeing any con debate, seeing no con debate. I'm going to go to Senator Rolfe.
While I haven't been at this university for a long time, I will admit that I do understand the importance of both Tally and Witherspoon to this campus, especially Tally, it being truly like the center of this campus. So I think a small increase in fee is necessary to keep these buildings intact. Like an earlier senator said, it is much easier to keep these buildings maintained than it is to fix them when they break. And I know that we like to make these buildings look nice, and those typically come with increased costs if we were to fix those things. So I think maintaining them before it becomes too much to bear is the wiser option.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. That was pro debate. Is there any con debate? Seeing none, I'm going to go back to pro debate with Senator Webster.
I want to like bring up kind of echoing the same sentiment that's been shared, but also drawing attention to the fact that they are doing and like renovations that are going to lead to more like cost efficient things, like such as changing to LEDs. That's going to decrease like power usage and like power bill over time. So like hopefully like with the fee increase to like switch to that, it will help minimize more fee increases in the future if we get ahead of it. So like beyond just fixing things before they break, we're also trying to switch to things that are more efficient with energy. And that's also going to help us with sustainability and things, especially like as we talked about earlier with global warming. And it's just the more we can do to be more efficient with both like money and our resources on this planet, I think is better. So I think the small increase in fee to help us support sustainability in the long run of both our financial resources and our natural resources is very important.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. That was pro debate. I see a motion from Senator Baker. Previous question has been called, and I'm going to give a second to Senator Echeburu. And so what this means is we're going to go straight to a vote. All in favor of previous question, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay. All right, ayes have it, and previous question has been called. Secretary Carter, you have the floor.
As always, you can vote yes, no, abstain, or pass, and I will come back to you. Abdul Aleem, Ahmed, Aleem, Al-Shamari, Baker, Pass. Barker. Barrett. Biggs. Boaj. Karst.
Yes.
I vote yes. Chiganti. Cook. No. DeVay. Davis. Dewberry. Dean. Dixon. Dunn. Dunn. Echebaru. Fields. Frink. Hardwick. Hernandez. Hines. Ibrahim. Kalanina. Khan. Kalu. Ledford. Lennon. Lewis. Lundergan. Mengestab. Mobley. Nandula. Perez. Perry. Piriani. Pittman. Price. Rao. Robertson. Robinson. Rolfe. Roman. Roy. Shonik. Seitz. Shahid. Taylor. Urchuk. Watts. Webb. Webster. Wetzbarger. Watley. Lance Williams. Rayshawn Williams. Yasa. Joe. Smith. Apperson. Vasquez. Joshi. I think I missed a couple of people, or I didn't hear someone. I think I was missing Dunn. You said yes. Okay.
Also, Baker, I know you passed.
And yeah.
Baker is yes.
Baker is yes. Perry, yes. Thank you. Anyone else?
Oh, Boaz.
Who is I?
Boaz.
Boaz said yes. Cool. Anyone else? All right.
Oh,
Awesome.
All right. So something that I realized whenever this wasn't going to be unanimous, tuition and fees bills do require 2/3 of Senate to pass. So with 52 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, this piece of legislation does pass and will be reported to FRC. So with that, I mean, we can give a little clap. I don't know. Now we'll move on to SR 53, Computer Science Department. Oh, sorry, actually, not 53. 52. Sorry, I just don't know what bill we're on. It's fine. All right, SR 52, Student Health Services Fee Act.
A Senate resolution to be entitled an act establishing student government opinion on the fee increase for student health services.
Okay, awesome. This piece of legislation was sponsored by Senator Lance Williams. You have 5 minutes to deliver your sponsor report.
So this bill is asking for a $25 increase from Student Health Services. As you saw in their presentation, it's a lot of money going towards the mandated fee increases for salaries, and that was a huge thing. We don't necessarily have too much information on what would happen if we were not to allow this fee increase.
Point of information, we do. It's in the Form B as well as like reduction of services and that sort of thing. But anyways, continue.
So the general reduction of services, though a specific one wasn't quite named. And other than that, I'm pretty sure that covers all the bases.
Okay, awesome. Tuition and fees. Go ahead.
Yes, tuition and fees moved to the Senate with favorable review. Yeah, we view that it was a high charge, but well worth it.
Okay, awesome. This piece of legislation, there was also some amendments that happened on this. You can see them in the resolve clauses. And so now we'll move into a period of 10 minutes for questions. Are there any questions on this piece of legislation? I have a query from Abdul Alim. Sorry.
Does anybody know if the fee has gone up in years prior, especially with looking at like the mental health crisis from 2 years ago and leading up to that as well?
So the last approved increase for this unit was the 2021 to 2022 academic year, which I don't remember what the amount of the increase is. It's probably in that chart. We don't know what it was prior to that, but it was to a total of $445. And that's what it has been since then. Does that answer your question? Okay. Senator Baker, question.
Was student health open to a lower fee than this? Was that discussed as an option in FRC?
In FRC, I'm not aware of, but something that because as Student Senate, it's not really our place to quite nickel and dime people. It's either we are in favor of this increase or we are not. So I'm going to ironically keep it to a binary option. which I feel like goes against a lot that I stand for. But hi, I'm Caroline. I use they them pronouns and I'm non-binary. So if for the people who didn't get the joke. But so either we're gonna be supporting this increase or we're not. That is up to them to decide. What we can also put a note of like the Senate would be in favor of a lower increase if possible. Like if that's as a note, if that makes sense for in our resolve clauses. Okay, so are there any other questions? And also that goes for the rest of these, well, this legislation and the other of these going forward. Okay, so is there any other questions regarding this piece of legislation? Seeing none, we will move into a period of debate. We last ended on pro debate. Is there any con debate on this piece of legislation? Con debate from Proxy Abdul Alim.
I'm just looking at this chart and it doesn't tell me like the exact increase, but it was increased in 2021, 2020 for that school year. And I just don't think that $25 as of right now I don't think that it's a correct increase. I think that it should be lower than 25 because I currently don't think it's needed after such a crisis. I think if we wanted to increase it by 25, it should have been done prior to the mental health crisis we were facing.
Okay, so I guess as a point of information, some of the reason for this request was not only mental health stuff, but also for the legislative mandate that required a salary increase for all the university employees. So that was some of it, as well as like that's $11 of this was the mental health, and then 14 of this was the like mandated salary increases.
Can I bounce
Does that
back
help
off?
you?
Can I bounce back off that then?
Sure.
Okay. If it's based on that, then it still should probably be lowered, seeing as
Okay.
they should only
Yeah. Okay.
count for
Sounds good.
that.
All right. That was con debate. I see pro debate from Senator Baker.
Now I can't find my button. My mouse, thing's backwards. If you were not on this campus during that school year, you were lucky. That was a shit school year. Just gonna be honest. Excuse my language. I don't want this fee increase because I'm a grad student, so I already pay more fees than you do as undergrads because I'm a grad student. So I don't want to pay more money for this. But what I don't want to see is students jumping off buildings again, period. And I know that the decisions that got made on that committee, that got made for our institution, has made a sizable difference, has made a significant impact for our campus community. And we do have to bear that financial responsibility. It's unfortunate that things cost money, that it cost money to hire really good counselors, that it cost money to retain employees, that our state legislature won't help fund mental health. That's who we should be mad with right now, is our General Assembly, not our campus health center, okay? If you want to be mad with somebody, don't be mad with Dr. Zapata. Be mad with your General Assembly and get out and vote in November. I really, really, really highly encourage that we pass this increase because it will sustain the work that has been done for the last 2 years to keep our campus community safe. Thank you.
Okay. All right. We have a point of information from Grad Assistant Washington, and then we'll go into your query.
I just want to add also as a point of information, a lot of those funds from a couple of years ago, if you remember, many students were able to receive free Headspace accounts, and so part of my assumption, I don't want to be quoted on this, but part of my assumption is that one, they were offered for free and there were a limited amount, and so that could also go into these funds could possibly be going to something like that, where they've been using new technologies such as the Reddit for mental health and
Together all, yeah.
yes, and as well as Headspace, which I use, and I don't know who else uses it, but it's free, and if it's free, it's for me,
Yeah.
and so and it's done wonders. So I do I would say it's helpful.
Yeah, and I guess a quick point of information additionally, this was something that was pointed out in the presentation, that some of these costs were covered by state legislature funds, but they're no longer anymore after those sorts of things phased out. But with that, we will move on to a query from Senator Webster.
So my question is like just to clarify, because I'm just confusing information from the earlier presentations.
Yeah.
They did state that like they don't have any other avenues to like fund the mandate. So like basically this fee increase is the only way we can keep these people employed.
Relatively, yes. If you look at their fee by unit, their operations funding source, which is on the second slide, it